You true? Can you woo 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 woo? We don't run this like we. Can you woo woo woo? Is it true? Is it deja vu? Is it true? Like I'm through saying kick it with you. Woo woo woo. Step a little woo. Don't only got.
Yes, indeed. We are back and we are live on this week's Freaky Friday with the Woo Crew. And only one thing remains to be asked, ladies and gentlemen.
Can you handle the woo?
Yes, indeed. We're back. We're live. Scotty Lopez, you're locked in, man. My voice, what was it sounding good this week?
It sounded like Darth Vader. It's like, can you handle the woo?
Well, you'd have liked my show, and I think I'd reached out to you, actually. It was on Monday. We had the Star Wars aficionado on the show, the host of Conspiracy in the Force. Dude, he's going to be coming back on. Lovely guy. And while I tell you what, it's been a while since I've sat and watched the full Star Wars kind of saga. But after listening to him, it's like I'll be able to watch it with a whole new set of eyes. And I think it's going to be worth escaping from the Matrix and plugging back into some good old Star Wars sci-fi.
Yeah, I'm a sci-fi nerd. I'm not like one of those Star Wars nerds that like go to the conventions and do the LARPing and all of that with Star Wars. But I'm a big fan, and actually, I'm a little bit more of a Trekkie than a Star Wars fan, but I think they're both good. I like both. I like Star Wars and Star Trek. Like I said, anything sci-fi is just cool to me. So, yeah, it's cool that your guest was able to kind of do a breakdown of the Star Wars
fascinating, dude.
Saga and all of that stuff. So, yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah, we even talked about my favorites, the little Ewoks. Yes, the Ewoks were thrown in there. Yes, we got a bit on them. I tell you, dude, you need to go and listen to it. It was really, really good. And a big shout out to everyone that's tuned in today on tfrlive.com, the home of Freaky Friday. It's not just me and Scotty Lopez here today. It's the man, the myth, the mystery. It's Nacy. He's the man in the middle. How you doing, Nacy?
It is a fabulous day, if I may say, to be here. It's perfectly clear. You, I, and Scotty shall be handling the woo as best as we can. It's June 11th, and for those Gematria fans, 11 is the K in the alphabet. K stands for Kevin, and Kevin squared, and a little sprinkle of Scotty. We're ready to go.
Oh, I like it. I like it. Definitely, dude.
Something really interesting. You brought up Star Wars. Last night I went to bed listening to episode 3, A New Hope.
Ah, nice.
You enjoy it?
Loved it. I remember as a kid, 1977, in the theater where that Dolby THX sound came vibrating every area of my body. And then next thing you know, that pyramid started coming up in a galaxy far, far away. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was fantastic. And it's interesting if you look at all the symbolism and the iconography of the Star Wars movie, even their movie poster, that epic poster, you'll see how all the characters are all made into a pyramid with Luke at the top of the pyramid with his hand in the air with the lightsaber illuminating us all because it's a bright, beautiful day.
Well, he is the Skywalker. He is the Skywalker after all.
The sun.
Yes, indeed he is.
Horus.
Now, for all you loyal Wookiees out there who head on over to the home of Freaky Friday at tfrlive.com, don't forget we've got the chat room over there. And all you have to do is navigate up to the top bar and you'll find listen live, chat room. or just go to tfrlive.com/chat. Now, we also go out. TFR as a network is carried on TalkStream Live. So a big shout out to all of you, and I'm doing a salute that none of you can see. But we are back by popular demand. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. There's only so many emails that I can deflect that contain the wrath. Let's face it, listen, I have been facing not the wrath of Khan, the wrath of Wookiees. Damn, I have never seen such a reaction, Scott, to one of our shows being not even like it went away. We just took it home to TFR for a while because we were a bit fed up with the algorithmic Olympics. And well, what a response. We listened to the audience. We're back. I'm going to have to fly by the seat of my pants for 3 hours. But hey, we're back by popular demand.
It's a double-edged sword, you know. It's one of those catch-22 situations, right? Where you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't, you know. And so, yeah, we're gonna try the YouTube thing again, because you know, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that they have their frustrations with YouTube, they have their complaints, and you know, but then when you make the decision to pull away from it, and people still aren't happy. You know what I mean? So, you know, people simultaneously hate YouTube but rely on it, and it's like a love-hate relationship or something. So I don't know, but yes, we're back. We're back. We'll be playing the algorithm gymnastics again, but
it's
hey,
okay,
you know,
Scott. It's okay, Scott. I've got it sussed. I have got an ejector seat, and I've not fitted it to your chair. But Nacy, I've got a button now, right? I've got a button for when you get close to the edge. I'm just going to fire you off into the stratosphere. We'll just hear, away you go.
Look, Nate.
Scotty did.
I was gonna say, when you were asleep, Kev sneaked into your room, and he attached a
We
J.
can't reveal this.
He attached
we can
under your chair, and he's got it rigged up, and he's got the button ready.
Well, I cannot confirm or deny that Kev Baker opened up that portal and sent two of his minions here, and there is a car battery connected to certain parts of the world right now. And Scotty, you definitely caught that 22, which is 11 multiplied by the number 2. That's called a callback in comedy. That's a callback there.
I like
Where's
it.
the woo?
So
Where's the woo?
The woo is coming. The woo is coming, but we can't go anywhere until I go over and we do the roll call in the Wookiee cave. So yes, first up, there's me. There's Sophia kissing in the corner as per usual. We've got Bam, Onslow, Melissa, Paradoxical, Anomaly. It's a really trying time when you come across them on your ventures in space travel and remote viewing. Just talking from experience here. And we've got Psycho Dave, Nightshade, Daryl Bowles. We've got a Squishy Killer. I like that. I like that name, Squishy Killer. And we, last but not least, we've got a nomad in there, a wandering person. Yes, indeed. So I hope you're all ready to get into some really decent type woo that's flying around. I know, Scotty, you've had a hard, busy week and you're looking forward to unplugging into some mystery woo, right?
Yeah, the retrograde seems to be starting to take its toll. I don't know. I mean, it hasn't hit me per se. I don't know. Maybe like indirectly, like everybody else's.
Used to be retrograde affected technology. Now it's going for the warm and wet qubits. affecting our technology, dude.
I think it affects more than technology. I just think it makes everything kind of go haywire. It puts everything into a state of disarray at some level, right? So even if I wasn't like directly affected technologically, well, my brother's friend, his computer went out, and in turn, you know, I'm the one that's having to diagnose and figure out what's going on, because that's my profession. That's my line of work. I repair PCs. And so the first person he calls is my brother. And he's like, hey, can your brother Scott look at my computer and all that stuff? So, which is fine. But, you know, it just seems like all of the chaos being caused is also kind of wrapping me up into it as well. So, yeah, it's just been one of them crazy. It's been a crazy week, but I'm glad it is finally winding down, that I'm finally able to kick back and get in some woo with you guys. So
Indeed, my friend. So we're gonna start off with some audible woo. We're gonna listen to some stuff. I've got a couple of clips here that cause some audible conundrums. Yes, indeed. Some people hear some things. Other people hear other things. Some you can actually almost play about with what you're hearing, despite it being exactly the same thing you're hearing over and over again. And the first clip that I'm about to play here today has caused a lot of conversation and consternation over on TikTok. And you're going to hear football chanting, okay? And that's all I'm going to tell you. You're just going to hear a football chant over and over again, the way it's sung. And I want you out there to try and tell us what it's saying, okay? So I've played this for Scotty. I've got a couple other ones. It's not just this one we've got. But I'll play it the first time, and we'll hear it. 30 seconds, okay? Here we go.
That is embarrassing! 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 That is embarrassing!
So, Naysay, let's come to Naysay first, Scott. Let's see what Naysay is going to say.
You'd be perfect for this.
Yeah, exactly. So, Naysay, what do you hear when I played that clip there?
Well, it almost sounds like English, and I'm going to assume it sounds of the United Kingdom. However, it would be unfair of me to say what I heard, because I caught it at the end of the call when I joined you two earlier. But it's funny when you were saying about the other words that individuals were believing that they hear, it makes me think of how we are so conditioned, or part of our genetic composition is to recognize patterns, which is the greatest gift we have as so-called humans, and our absolute want and need to either be labeled or to know the unknown. So so I can't answer because I do know what it says.
Yep.
But
now it's, if you're a football fan, okay, and this happened to me right away because I watched the football, because I know that this is like a known chant. I'm kind of preloaded. I'm kind of side-loaded, so I'm going to hear it pretty quickly the way that I'm used to hearing it. And the interesting thing really happens when you get people who aren't soccer fans or aren't used to hearing that kind of chanting. Now, for most of us that watch football and things like that, it's going to be that is embarrassing. But there was people writing in there, and I'm going to play it quietly in the background while I read through some of these. And I tried this earlier on today. I tried like saying some of these things over and over again. And then it was weird because I started to hear the different versions of what people themselves were saying. Not all of them worked, but most of them did. So try these phrases when you're listening to this, okay? Oh, hang on. I need to restart it. Apologies. Of course, it's not going to load up now because it's just going to do that. There we go. It's loaded up. Let's see. So,
Is it also showing the video?
There is Bart Simpson bouncing. There's rotating pirate ship. One of my personal favorites that works for me is That Isn't My Receipt.
That is embarrassing. That is embarrassing. That is embarrassing.
Next one didn't work for me, but it might work for you, and it's called Lobsters in Motion, but I need to restart it again. Come on, man. The receipts one works for me the best, I think.
First, I was hearing something like lampshades and Barson.
Let's see, because there's lactates in pharmacy is one of them. Lactates in pharmacy. Lactates in pharmacy. We've got baptism piracy. I think baptism piracy actually works quite well. Oh. Somebody subscribed. Thank you. Try to play again. I'm Chasing Martian. Another one.
In the chat said Bart Simpson farted.
Now there's a Bart Simpson bouncing up the top.
Yeah.
Bart Simpson farting. Bart Simpson farting. I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that isn't the only one I've got, right? Now this one here called the Green Needle Audio Illusion emerges online. Have any of you heard of this?
Okay, wait. Okay.
It's a couple of years old.
Is this the one where the tone continuously sounds like it's dropping or rising? Is that the one?
No, we'll do it here. Listen to this, right? I want you to think in your mind. Excuse me. Literally think in your mind. Brainstorm or green needle. Okay? Brainstorm or green needle. Now, I tried this a couple of times, and one time I kept on trying to say green needle, and the full thing the whole way through sounded like green needle. And then the next time I'd done it, I thought, well, I'll try it the other way. I'll try brainstorm. And it worked. It's brainstorm. I know, look, I know it sounds weird, but I'm going to play it and we'll see what people say. So brainstorm or green needle. Hang on. Here we go. It's bizarre.
Okay. I hear green needle. I don't see how anyone could get brainstorm.
I get brainstorm all the way through that. The audio is saying brainstorm. However, many people are hearing it as green needle, despite the fact that the two phrases are very different in terms of how they are pronounced.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
I don't hear brainstorm at all.
Yep.
I totally hear the brainstorm, but what's more disturbing is the noise in between trying to figure out what they're saying, because I think those are words also.
Well, maybe they are, but the main part, the thing that people are really kind of, this is again, it's a couple of years old. Try whatever you heard. I want people now, whatever you heard, flip it round. Tell yourself you're going to hear the other thing. Because I had some really weird results when I tried that earlier on. Front load your head.
I was trying to listen for Brainstorm through that too.
Brainstorm's that's the one that's like the overwhelming one for me. I have to really think. I have to really think for the green needle, you know? Here we go.
Yeah, play it again.
Crazy, isn't it? When you tell yourself what you're going to hear and it changes, isn't it?
Wait.
Same video.
Oh my
Now, people can see I've
God.
not changed the video,
Dude.
but you can change what you hear.
I could possibly hear green storm, but I kept going back to brainstorm.
That's weird. I was literally hearing Green Needle at the verse, and then like once I really forced myself to listen for Brainstorm, then it became like crystal clear. Dude, that's weird.
Well, you know how when you listen to songs and for the longest time you think that the lyrics are one thing, and then all of a sudden you read the lyrics and then you're like, oh my gosh. One thing that always gets me is the Beatles song at the beginning when they start going, love, love, love. I swear by, 15, 20 seconds into that, they start saying blah, blah, blah. And when I point it out to people, then they're like, oh my God, it does sound like they're saying blah, 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 which makes it even funnier, the whole song. But,
I think another classic example of that would be like that song, blinded by the light, wrapped up like a deuce. And everybody thinks it says something else instead of deuce.
We've got one more before we go to the break then, guys.
Scotty has such a nice voice.
Yanni or Laurel? Yanni or Laurel? Yanni or Laurel? Take a listen.
Laurel. 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 Laurel.
Now, for me, it's always Yanni. But a lot of people hear Laurel.
Yeah, I hear Laurel.
Laurel.
I only hear Yanni.
It would be interesting to know the genetic, geez, how do you say it? Your ethnic background, because we're raised with accents, and accents will cause variables in the way that you open your pie hole. And that's the biggest difference. We get conditioned from that accent to utilize our mouth and our tongue to have it in a certain mannerism to make the syllable that we're accustomed to.
Mm-hmm.
Now this here is an audio snippet with just 2 syllables as ignited an internet meltdown, dividing social media users into staunchly opposing camps. Do you hear Yanni or Laurel? The collective sensory equipment causing a Twitter tizzy mushroomed from a short audio clip originally published by a high school student on Reddit, the New York Times. Now, again, this is like 2018. And
these are like the audio versions of those images.
Yeah,
right?
the dresses where it's one color or another. Yeah.
Yeah, people think it's one color or another color. It falls into this weird thing where I think what we're experiencing here is like a form of what is it? Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot the name of it. When you're looking at like a random pattern in your eyes. We're dealing with audio pareidolia here. We're hearing a sound, but our brain is trying to fill in what we think it is, because we're not so sure. It's in this area where our brain can't quite figure out what it is, so it's grabbing for a reference point and then applying it to the noise, so
Captain, my captain, off the heavenly starboard speculation island, what if all of this is data collection by the algorithm to see what our subconscious, which also hears our consciousness.
I don't know
Data
what
collection.
I don't know what the data value of whether knowing I hear Yanni or Laurel is to the AI, but who knows, dude? It could very well be. It could very well be. Anything could be at this point. Who knows? When you're off the port side of Speculation Island, anything is possible. But we're on the break. We're on the break, dude. Hold your jets. We're about to go to our first break today. And let me remind people, this is the start of like a woo extravaganza, because Brent Thomas will usher you through into the paranormal portal. And he had a couple of gentlemen on just the other night on his YouTube show from Down Under talking about the Yowie. Oh, it was fascinating. I was very lurk mode engaged, and I was sitting listening intently to the Bigfoot Down Under. Talking of cryptids, we've got lots of cryptids to come after the break as well, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with your Freaky Friday, but the question is, can you handle the woo? Or can you handle what we're trying to hear tonight? That was weird, all that. Very weird. You see, woof, that was almost you got hung up on there, and they say that's how this ejector seat works. That's the hovering over the button there. It was back, man. What's that all about? So that the one that really messed my head up most, I think, boys, was the brainstorm or green needle, because I literally listened to that video multiple times, and I heard something different every time I played it.
Yeah, that one kind of tripped me out.
Yeah, let's see what it says about it here. It says, hot on the heels of the Laurel or Yanni comes another audio clip that seems to say two completely different things. The new brain teaser, which is actually a short clip taken from a 4-year-old review video, features a Ben 10 toy with a battery-powered loudspeaker that states the name of one of the characters. Now, the audio should be saying brainstorm. However, many people are hearing green needle. So we'll play it one more time. Oh. It's bizarre, isn't it? It's bizarre.
I now think they're switching it up, because the very first one I heard was green needle.
To me, it sounds like there's two different audio.
You're seeing what I'm doing here, though. You're seeing what I'm doing here, guys.
I'm talking about in the video itself. I think there's one that's saying green needle, and there's one that's saying brainstorm.
The first one I heard green needle. The second one I heard brainstorm. The third one I heard green storm.
I'm with Tanel in the chat room. I hear whatever I go in looking to hear. I can make them alternate. If you just say it before it comes on, it's like you can almost train your brain.
There's an optical illusion that's like that, where those like your disposable plates or something like that kind of have the little sections in them, for like putting put vegetables here, put your potatoes there, there's an optical illusion where they flip them upside down, but they still look like they're right side up because of the shadows, right? So you don't know really if they're upside down or right side up. But if you tell your brain it's right side up, they look right side up. But if you tell your brain they're upside down, they look like they're upside down.
Here we go.
your protection from deception.
Indeed it is, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed it is. Indeed. The studio clock, you see on the back end, I'll let you into some sneaky beaky back end stuff. There's a big clock like you're in a studio and it comes flashing up and it says you're live. Only it's lying today. Only it's lying. It does this on Freaky Friday. It's like there's a ghost in the machine. It's like there's a ghost in the machine. And it doesn't matter how many times you whisper to me how long it is, Nacy. Some weeks it is, some weeks it isn't. It's a very temperamental beast. It truly, truly is.
It's retrograde, Kev.
I'd like to say that, but it's been doing this for like a long time now. Here we
It's
go.
been retrograde for multiple weeks.
Oh, and happy new moon, gentlemen.
Yes, indeed, and a happy new moon to you, Nacy. I dare not ask you about the moon, dude. We had a quick conversation yesterday, and my mind was getting ready to explode because you hit me with all these lunar orbits and the what you call it, the equinox and everything, Kevin. See, because I don't look at all that stuff, I get really confused really early, and I think to myself, oh no, my brain's going to explode. So, Nacy, tell the audience what's happening with the moon, because I think there'll be more people out there. No, listen, what did I say to you yesterday when we had the conversation? It's not something that I typically look at. So for me, I can't tell if there's anything wrong or not because I don't watch it all the time. So let's get into it again, dude. What's going on with the moon and the sun? And the moon rise, the moon set, the sunrise, the sunset. Talk to us, brother. Talk to us.
Well, because of my heritage of the Anishinaabe or the Paleo-Americans of North America, I follow ceremonies or rituals that I create. And right now I'm on day 1 of my summer solstice fast. And I started the fast with the alignment of the new moon that just occurred yesterday. So in this recognizing the cycles, I would go to my, forgive me, because I go to that one prostitute called Apple and get my smart mobile device. And I'll push the button and I'll say, when is sunrise? When is sunset? And then I will create thank you.
Sidvich donated 30 Norwegian kroner through Super Chat.
Hey, thank you, Sidvich. Yes, you get the... Now, Nacy, I'm going to allow you to enjoy what the viewers just enjoyed there. You get to see me dressed up in a pineapple suit, dancing. That's what accompanies that actual noise, Nacy. It's a little emoji of me in a pineapple suit, which is a very disturbing thought right off the bat, right? And I'm doing a crazy jig, a crazy dance, man.
Well, I'm not going to confirm or deny the possibility that that may or may not have been why I lost my sight.
It probably might have been. If not you, Nacy, many out there, if not you. But I'm sorry, dude. Let's get back to your lunar woo.
The visions I have of you dancing are much better than the pineapple.
God, you don't ask Anne about me dancing. She calls my one dance the choo choo. She says it's like I'm on a train. I've got no idea. No idea.
Well, anyway, so I'll go to my smartphone and I'll push the button and I'll say, when is sunset and when is sunrise? Excuse me. And then I'll do the same with the moonrise and the moon set. Well, if you pay attention to this, you will notice that there is a pattern that you will recognize, that the moon does not rise the same every day. It will actually skip forward between an hour and a half on the following day. And this is why there's times you see the moon during the day, because it's catching the reflection of the sun off of the earth. And ironically enough, yesterday morning, that the moonrise and the moon set, along with the sunrise and the sunset, were all within 30 minutes of themselves. Where actually the moonrise where I am, because it will depend upon where you lie or lay on the longitude and latitude of the spheroidal planet Earth, or Aki. So I'm paying attention to it, and the changing of the moon rises from day to day is just bizarre. It's going out of pattern where one day it might be an hour and 15 minutes and the next day it might be 2 hours, or the next day it might be 20 minutes. And so this means, from me thinking of it logically, strategically, that if you think of a circle with a dot in the center, the dot in the center being the Earth and the moon being on the parameter of that circle, in a perfect world, it would be doing a 360-degree ellipsis. But because of this changing, it is showing that the ellipsis is being more like an egg shape. And so if you think of this egg shape, when it goes around the large curvature of the bottom of the egg, and we're thinking of the smaller end towards the top. So as it's going around the large one, and if it's closer to the Earth, then to us it looks like a super moon. And then as it's going away to the pointier end of the egg, then it's being pulled further from the Earth. Now this goes back to my proclamation in 2018, as of December going into January, our moon month changed from 28 days to 30 days. And now these days are shifting between 29 and 30 days in the last 2 years. And not only that, on top of it, where I recognize, even though I'm blind, I know that when I roll into my dining room in the spring and the equinox of the spring and of the fall, the sun hits me at a certain point of when I come through the doorway, and it's changed. And now the sun is almost 30 to 40 degrees to the north more than it usually is. And it's driving me crazy, because I'm trying to find online a validation of this, and I'm finding all of these different sites that claim to denote sunrise and sunset and moonrise and moonset, and they all have different numbers. Where I used to go to the United States Naval Observatory, because they, you would think would have the best, specific, calculation of time of these occurrences, I can no longer find it on its website. And then on top of that, you throw in daylight savings, where they shift, hours forward or hours back. To me, my speculation is that the powers that should not be are purposely keeping us unaware of these greater cycles, because it will cause more disruption. So if we want to talk about retrograde, if we are over 80% water and our moon is doing such a crazy shift in its whole elliptic sphere or circle, then it's going to have causation on us. But this is my speculation.
Well, Nacy. After our brief conversation yesterday, I thought, well, I really need to start being able to participate in these conversations with Nacy more. I need to learn a little bit more about this. And it was quite dumbfounding, actually, what I found and what I got stuck on. I would love to tell you I learned a lot about the lunar orbit and the sunrise and the sunset. And I was hopefully going to be able to say, Nacy, you're spot on. There's definitely something going on here. Now, there could be something going on that nobody's considered, okay? Nobody. And I had never even thought that this would even be a thing until I came across this yesterday. And it's from the Rolling Stone publication, okay? And the headline reads, "The dumbest guy in Congress asks US Forest Service if they can actually change the moon's orbit." Now, I'm not going to read all of this. But if they're talking about it, how do we know they haven't already done it? And it says here, Republican Louis Gohmert, who admitted recently that some consider him the dumbest guy in Congress, That must be a really, really hard accolade to achieve. That takes some doing. That's some doing. Hats off, man. Hats off. Appears intent on proving those people right. On Tuesday, the Republican congressman asked a representative of the U.S. Forest Service, tasked with managing America's national forests and grasslands, if the agency might consider branching out, so to speak. As I understand from what's been testified to, the Forest Service and the Bureau of Land Management, you want very much to work on the issue of climate change. I was informed by the past NASA director of NASA that they found the moon's orbit is changing slightly. They say. And so is the Earth's orbit around the sun. We know there's been a significant solar flare activity, and so is there anything that the National Forest Service or BLM can do to change the course of the moon's orbit? Or the Earth's orbit around the sun? Gomer inquired. Obviously, that would have profound effects on our climate, and it would change. It would make my little friend Greta so happy if we could just play about with the orbit of the moon. But Nacy, did you hear it in there, dude? They're admitting that you're right. He's dumbfounded. He can't even talk. He can't even talk. Nacy's thinking, "Hang on, wait, I've been confirmed by a politician." Holy shamoly!
I was just about to say the same thing. Within that absolute idiotic sort of statement of him asking if we can do anything to alter the moon's orbit or the Earth's orbit. Within that, though, he said that NASA confirmed that the moon's orbit and the Earth's orbit is shifting, is changing. So, and what have we been talking about for years on Freaky Friday?
Well, I must take my. I'm not Nacy. I always thought it was crazy. I thought it was crazy talk.
I'm gonna say, not we. How many years has Nacy been talking about the moon's orbit and all of that stuff? So we have what appears to be a little bit of confirmation here by NASA, when they spoke to the dumbest man in Congress. But they let him know that there was something going on. And
can I toot my horn?
Yeah, go ahead. Toot that horn, buddy.
Well, I got goose flesh, and I'm freaking out because if I may slightly toot it again, remember I've called the last 3 Super Bowls, and you guys remember on Freaky Friday when I called it this last year?
Indeed, you did.
And I want to say it comes to pattern recognition, and that I'm paying attention to patterns and then making the prediction. But shall we go underground, Speculation Island? Did we find Oak Island, the hole in Speculation Island, and we're getting into sub-level, Hangar 18, going down sub-levels? Here we go. Hold on. Leave your breadcrumbs. So what if the reason that they are creating CERN, which has been proven it can have effects on the electromagnetivity of the Earth, what if they are setting up these sites around the globe in order to crank up the electromagnetivity so they can hold on to the moon to keep it in its orbit, to get it on a regular path, because up in the sky, way, way up high, depending on your perspective, there's something coming back to visit us, the Blue Kachina, the Red Dragon, the Hopi Prophecy 2012, the Seventh Fire prophecy of my ancestors.
Who knows, man?
Oh, come on, man. No, they're not using CERN to control the moon. We're not going there. Come on, man. Are
they? I mean, look, if they are, then maybe Lou Gomer isn't so stupid, right?
Well, think of the pyramids. Think of the pyramids all over the globe. pyramids all over the globe. And if there's a speculation that the pyramids were a huge force of power.
Yeah.
What if that power was to try to keep the moon in a perfect orbit? Because we know if it's in a perfect orbit, we can predict the cycle because it'll be more perfect. And right now we're having some crazy arse weather. Crazy. We were 93 degrees yesterday. Or no, 98 I think it was. In my house, it was 90 degrees in my house because I don't have AC. And we do not come upon the precipice of the summer solstice with those temperatures. Not in my lifetime.
Well, the weather has been wild. It was like almost up in the 90s today, and then that cold front blew through with all these storms, and the temperature like literally dropped like 20 degrees in about an hour and a half. So
exactly. Same here.
Yep. Well, I mean, okay, I'll throw this out there then. The Chittahoochee, Kev. I'm gonna throw the Chittahoochee out there.
Damn, just catch that. You just got a Chittahoochee. Damn, dude.
I'll just throw a Chittahoochee, just a random Chittahoochee. Didn't two brothers supposedly drag the moon into its location? And
that's one given mythology how it got here. You know, you think about it, if we're ever going to go out there and terraform other planets, there's instances where it would be beneficial, and in fact you would actually require to have some kind of orbiting satellite. You can look at what it does here on the Earth with our tides and everything else, and I don't know, but it's just
that's what they
seems too perfectly engineered. When you look at other moons around other planets, and you don't even have to go outside of our own solar system, but they don't look anything like what we've got going on here. And then you do that perfect math thing with the solar eclipse and that kind of shenanigans going on. They're ringing like a bell when you fire rods at it. There's something very artificial about it. That's all I can say.
Look, just like a well-oiled machine or a finely tuned clock, right? If it starts to get out of phase, you've got to repair it, right? You got to take it to a watchsmith or someone to get it back on track, right? Maybe that's what's happening. Maybe the fine-tuned machine over hundreds of thousands of years, right, of the moon being in its perfect orbit, you know, it's starting to get a little wonky. Even
the moon's trying to escape this crazy rock that we find ourselves confined to. Yeah, even the moon's had enough.
But you know,
you're so afraid.
The moon's heard that we're heading up there, and it wants the heck out of here. It wants to escape our kind of orbital clutches before we get there to populate it, dude. It's having none of us.
What if the man in the moon has become so afraid of the humans on this earth? He's like, get me out of here.
Yeah.
If I get any closer to them, they're gonna mess me up.
Yeah, they've called in the Chittahoochee response team. They're like making their way across the galaxy right now to come and tow this thing out of here. There must be another kind of young planet that could make use of a good moon like this, Scott.
There's some Chittahoochee representative talking to some high government official right now, and he's like, "Okay, so what happened? The moon's out of phase. Okay, tell me, how long has this been going on?" And we'll get you fixed up right away. You know.
Or that Galactic Council is saying, "Hey, do we help those pesky humans get their moon back in sync, or do we let it cause such a major cataclysm that again we're revisited by the flood or the other possibilities?" Because the moon in its perfection helps the electromagnetivity of our atmosphere, our stratosphere, and our troposphere. You know, the parameters of the Earth are perfectly conditioned for our existence. And if we want to keep the continuity of the human species, we would then have to create geospheres around the solar system to where we would continue to survive. And maybe that's where Prince went.
Maybe. And you know, Kev made a point about, you know, if we were to go and colonize a planet, you know, it would be beneficial for there to be a moon to stabilize that planet's rotational axis, right? That's one of the main challenges that they're going to have to deal with Mars, because Mars has Phobos, but Phobos is not a large enough moon to stabilize Mars's rotational axis. And every couple million, like I don't know the actual time, but I know it's in the millions of years, but Mars begins to tumble. It'll spin just fine for a while, and then its axis starts getting wobbly, and then eventually it starts to tumble, and it'll like rotate sideways and flip sideways for a little while before it like reorients itself, and then it but part of the reason for that is because it doesn't have a large enough moon with a large enough gravitational pull to stabilize its axis. So if we're to colonize Mars, I think eventually we would have to solve that problem, because the planet you're colonizing, deciding it's gonna just get all wibbly wobbly and flip over, and probably would not be a very good thing, you know.
Well, those other causations of what you're talking about, Scotty, is as the Earth, when we go back to the whole circle with the point in the center of it, and if the circle parameter is the Earth's orbit around the sun, then if you think of it like the grooves in a record, you know, a couple layers out is Mars, a couple layers out is the asteroid belt, a couple layers out is Jupiter. And they are not perfect circles. They are, you know, elliptic. You know, they are sometimes oval in shape. And what you were talking about with Mars, how it does that major change, is when its elliptis becomes closer to Jupiter, that it causes that disruption of the planet's gravitational tilt and everything. And if you look back at the history in our lifetime on Jupiter, there's a giant storm that was rotating one way. And in our lifetime, and they haven't explained it, but they claim that it's rotating the opposite way now. So
That's
WT Freaky Friday.
There you go. And listen, we can't even get off Earth satisfactorily to my kind of satisfaction just yet. We're getting there, so we don't have to worry about Mars just yet. And if we do get one of these cataclysms, Nacy, you mentioned a flood down here. I look around the world, and I think we're ready for some heavenly wrath to be poured upon us. But we're not ready for that either, because of course we live in 2021, and bureaucracy would get in the way of us having an ark. We brought this up on a stream before, but anytime we mention the flood now, I think this is a really legitimate story to bring up, because should we be faced with a flood, you better get your paperwork in order first, or you won't be able to set sail, Scotty Lopez. Won't be able to set sail. And that's how it works in the UK, ladies and gents. I'm not even making it up. Giant wooden replica of the biblical vessel has been detained where it is docked in Ipswich, measuring 230 feet in length. The unique vessel.
So that's what Joe Joseph's been up to.
Yep. So exactly, it's not got the right paperwork. You ain't getting out of here. Now I hear people saying, "But Kev, if it's all hitting the fan and by that time nobody will care," well, maybe, but by that time it'll be too late. Too late to load up our ark with things.
I would,
you know.
You know what? The guy who built that, you know, when those
hats off, man.
Those bureaucrats, those red tape bureaucrats tried to. He should have pulled out the Bible, and then he should have been like, "Look, this thing has a track record of seaworthiness," and then, you know.
I like how they've got a giraffe and an elephant on board. I like that. It's a nice touch. I think that's pretty cool, right? Damn, boys.
It was really sad, though. It was sad when the unicorns and the dragons didn't have their correct papers and they weren't allowed on the ark.
Oh, exactly. I was almost offended. I think it was last week or the week before, over on Warrior Mode. good friend Derek Stroman, he tried to hint that the dragon is merely a thing of mythological status. Oh, I was having none of it. Having none of it.
No,
having none of it. I'm like, it was real, dude. It was real.
Dragons are real.
Didn't know I was willing to go and fight and die on the hill of defending the dragon, but I was. Yeah.
Hey, as long as the dragon isn't red, we're fine.
Hey,
Kev,
listen.
could you say dragon like 3 times and whisper it?
No.
Oh, the way you say dragon, brother.
No, it's getting weird. It's getting weird if I have to start whispering things to you, dude. You see, what's going on here now? What kind of shenanigans are we getting into here? So after the break,
ASMR are you into, Naysay? That's all I'm.
Nobody wants to hear me whispering dragon.
That Scottish accent.
Dragon.
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 Yes. Oh, which is really funny because MSUM, right across the street from me, where I am alumni, our symbol was the dragon.
Alumni. That's far too close to
Illuminati.
Yes, we'll be back after the break. Don't go anywhere.
I am bright and naughty.
There we go. I'm going to go and get a coffee. Now, Nacy, can you behave for 3 minutes when I go away, or are you going to turn into an algorithmic nightmare?
Oh, that's right. We're on YouTube, right?
Yes,
No,
we
I'm
are.
kidding.
Yes.
We
Damn,
are.
see, I had to remind him, see?
I'm kidding.
Scott, use a
I
dragon.
knew.
Slap him with a dragon while I get a coffee, will you?
I think I'll stick around and babysit a little bit.
Give Scotty my leash, my bridle.
Yes, yeah. Now, speaking of the new moon stuff, I saw it rising the other day. It was really cool looking. On the rare time we were able to actually see it, the new moon rise, pretty interesting.
Is there a partial eclipse tomorrow too?
I think that was yesterday or the day before.
For some reason, I'm thinking the 12th. Yeah, I could be wrong. World's been crazy. Well, always, from your perspective or my perspective. The world is what it is. But I got the White Earth powwow is going on right now. Minnesota's making the news again with the protest on the. Yeah, let's not go into politics.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. No. Yeah, there's definitely a lot going on, man. It's a lot of interesting celestial stuff. Like I said, we had the eclipse. We've got this new moon stuff happening. And so
the minute I started talking about weather and the moon and stuff, the wind picked up, and my vertical blinds, I apologize to the listening audience, my vertical blinds are being blown around. So if you're hearing clicking every now and then on my end, it's my vertical blinds, and I'm trying to be hot on the mute button tonight. So it is what it was when it's the weather.
Yeah, so it was really hot up there too, and then it just did it cool down any?
Yeah, last night we had some weird, bizarre storms that were coming straight from the north, which more times than not, I get storms that come from the west north.
Mm-hmm.
But they were coming straight north.
That's exactly what happened to us today. Just straight north, just a straight north storm. I was like, whoa.
Bad one. Good one. Bad one.
Well, we were just, me and Naysay were talking about how, because last night he had the storms blow through and they just came in straight from the north, which is kind of rare. They don't really come straight north like that. They kind of come from the west or the northwest. But it did the same thing here today, where I am, just straight from the north. So it was kind of weird, but it is what it is.
Bizarre.
I was also apologizing for my vertical blinds are getting blown in the wind. The wind picked up when we started talking about the weather, and now I can hear them clicking every now and then in the background.
Cue. The blinds right on cue, dude. Right on cue. Just watching the clock here. I'll leave it a bit extra before we go back, but it's good to be back on YouTube, folks. It is good to be back. because we've been doing Freaky so long over here, it did feel a bit different just going back and doing it on radio. I must admit. But yes, it's great to be back. And I'm sure everyone out there is delighted, Scotty, because there was pop. Well,
somebody in chat was asking if we were on hiatus, and we're like, no, Freaky Friday never went anywhere. We were just on YouTube hiatus for a little bit, but we're back. I'm
always on hiatus.
There we go. Let's do it. Yes, indeed. The crickets, until the Wookiee came along and declared hour number 2 is now underway on your Freaky Friday. Remember, tell everyone on social media, pester them about the craziest, the wackiest, the most woo show of the week right here on tfrlive.com. But then we're followed by an even better paranormal experience. And I love the fact that we've got Brent Thomas and Don Longbeard. They come along and they take over the chalice of woo, the baton of strangeness, and they will guide you through the next 2 hours after Freaky Friday. So all in, it's like 5 hours. And then they say it doesn't stop there either, because your friend Paisley West comes on after that, right?
Paisley Wild. Spaces between.
Damn, dude. Damn. I should have just gone for Paisley. I was on. I didn't know the second one.
I'm wild about Paisley, the kitchen pagan, I guess.
Well,
I don't know how she labels herself.
Because she's in the US, but I am actually living next door to Paisley. Because the city of Paisley, town of Paisley, it's actually a city status now. It's like just attached. It's like part of Glasgow, but it's Paisley.
The synchronicities.
Yes, indeed.
So we want to stick with the moon, or should we go beyond the moon? Extraterrestrials? Any ghosties?
I think we'll probably go. What do you think? Where do you guys want to go? So what's your thoughts on the moon then, Scott? Let's get the final thoughts on the moon. Where's it going?
Well, I definitely believe that there is some changes occurring that maybe we're not being so filled in on. You know, I don't know. I think this all kind of ties into the wandering of the magnetic field. You know, how it's drifting more and more towards Siberia or over Siberia, or, you know, that kind of area. And I just think that there's kind of a lot of just changes going on in a broader sort of celestial kind of astrological sense, you know, that there's changes occurring, and maybe we're moving into a area of space where there's some anomalies, or we're crossing the galactic plane or something. We also have to factor in this wave, right, that Suspicious Observers was talking about, right? Ben Davidson was talking about this was it wave that's been traveling from the galactic center of our galaxy, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, are we feeling the effects of that? Has it reached us yet? Who knows? You know, I just think there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on that's causing a lot of these Earth changes, and even beyond Earth changes. I mean, it's having effects on, you know, in my opinion, I think it's having effects on the way people think and their emotions, and because I mean we're so attuned to the planet, right? Our brains are so attuned to our environment that if anything changes, it's going to cause something. So yeah, I meant that's where I am with that. There's definitely something weird going on. We just don't know exactly what, though. But I do suspect that there is some shenanigans going on with the orbit of the moon. I'm kind of with Naysay on this. I think something is out of phase just slightly, and it's getting a little weird.
Any final thoughts on it, Nacy?
Well, I'm again. I don't know what the word is. I'm trying to remember about when you finally get validated for, even if it's, minuscule, and I think my assumption is that it's going to become more prevalent soon because the effect is going to be so normal, and maybe we're the precipice of this notice. And so I ask of all of the listeners out there, do your own experimentation. Find out where your longitude and latitude is, and then just take 1 week and mark down, on a notepad or whatever, the sunrise and the sunset, and also the moonrise and the moonset, and notice within that week the occurrence of change. I believe that the summer solstice is actually happening next week, and not the 20th. I think it may occur on Monday or Sunday because of how strange it has been. And this is, my own speculation, because I've shared with you gentlemen before that there's been times when I'm making record of the sunset and my daughter will overhear me and she'll say, "Dad, the sun is still up," when my mobile device is telling me that the sun is down. So that in itself, makes me ponder, are they purposely not giving us the data for us to make our own scientific deduction on our truth? So right now it's just speculation. So if you happen to be up during the sunrise, make note of it and check if the sun is literally rising. And the same with it setting and the moon rise and moon set, because it's an incredible dance that you witness when you start noticing the greater cycles. And this is why I do my rituals and my fasting. Because maybe if the moon is becoming strange off its orbit, maybe in my fast I can generate as much electromagnetivity as CERN or the pyramid, so I can just hold on to grandfather and grandmother moon to keep everything normal. What is normal?
I like a bit of woo, but you fasting is never going to control the orbit of the moon. I can't go there. I can't go there, Nacy. I can't do it, dude. You'll just be starving yourself. Your brain will start eating itself, and you might think you're controlling the moon. But no, I don't think we can hang on to the moon that way. If the moon's gone, it's gone, guys. We're done. We're out of here. We're like the dinosaurs. We're off.
Yes, but they also told me I wouldn't be able to ride my wheelchair from here to the Capitol. So I love a good challenge.
I like a good challenge as well, but if I was to tell you can't make it to the moon out of your chair, that technically I think I would win that bet. There's some things that just can't be done. That's my point.
Kev's he's like, the moon is a write-off. It's gone. It's a lost cause.
If it comes down to the three of us guys having to starve ourselves and then direct some electromagnetic energy to try and keep that moon here, at that point, is there any point in hanging on to the moon?
Well, I would argue the denotation of that term starving, because not eating isn't starving. Starving is when you're 10, 12 days into it, because this is one of the reasons why the body has this incredible storage of extra weight, in the events of this. And if you do look at the data there about how fasting is very good for the body, my ancestors have been doing it for thousands of years. And it literally helps reset your body's health maintenance. And this is the other reason why I do it.
Indeed.
Plus the discipline. No. It definitely helps me with my discipline.
Yeah, that's a fact. It definitely when you're on a fast and you have to exert some self-control, definitely some discipline when you're doing a fast, because that plate of cookies that mother just cooked looks very, very tempting when you're on like day 2 of a fast.
If you boys want to help with your fasting, get me round there. I will happily take all the snacks out of the equation. I will make sure there's nothing for you to eat, okay?
I haven't fasted for a while, so I'm not currently in that mode. But hey, maybe here pretty soon I'll jump back on the old diet wagon.
My goal is 10 days. I've done 8.5, but my goal is 10 days. And I think this summer solstice I'm only going to do 7. But who knows? When I get on day 7, I just might be so high on life I'll do the 10 days.
Is that life, or is that the simmering and the boiling of enzymes slowly eating your system? I'm not too sure.
Maybe when you're starting to get around day 10, that's getting a little rough.
That's getting a little close to starvation, you know.
When you guys hear me proclaim I'm going to do a hunger strike, then worry about my health.
Oh, big time.
Okay.
Big time, man. That's a different. Now, Scotty, you are going to take us into a similar kind of topic here. Some wacky kind of earthly, moonly weirdness going on. What is going on, dude? We've talked about these things before. Skyquakes.
Yeah, I figured since we were on the topic of the moon and earth changes and things along, stuff along that lines, I figured I'd get into this. I just saw this when I jumped on the Mysterious Universe, and apparently San Diego's having a little bit of an issue with these mysterious skyquakes. So we'll see what's going on here. It says mysterious skyquakes are shaking San Diego. It says you save money all your life, or you hit it big in Bitcoin, or you win the lottery. So what do you do next? You move to paradise. And then what happens? If you're Joni Mitchell, you wake up one morning to find they paved paradise, put up a parking lot. If your paradise happens to be San Diego right now, you might be wishing for concrete, or at least some concrete answers as to why your little corner of heaven is being rattled by mysterious booms that are not of this earth. Hence the name Skyquakes. If it's any consolation, it's not just you. For the 3rd time since February, a mysterious boom was heard and shaking felt Tuesday night by residents across San Diego County. The latest mystery phenomena, sometimes referred to as a skyquake, was reported just before 8:20 p.m. by residents as far south as Tijuana and as far east as El Cajon, and in San Diego neighborhoods in the southeast and coastal areas, as well as Linda Vista, Claremont, and Tierra Santa. The San Diego Union Tribune has no idea what caused this late evening mysterious boom, which differs from 2 previous ones on the 16th and the 10th of March. Only by the time those occurred around 5 p.m. All 3 involved shaking, but the United States Geological Survey reported no earthquakes. Todd Gloria, San Diego's mayor, tweeted he heard it and had no idea what it was. The military heard and said it, like the 2 others, wasn't a sonic boom that leaves skyquakes, which is a catch-all term for shaky, quaky booms that aren't quakes or sonic booms or meteorites. High winds and other atmospheric conditions can cause sound to travel unusually far, and meteorologists admit they still don't know nor fully understand all of the events our atmosphere can throw at us. If it's any consolation, it's not just San Diego or Southern California. At 3 a.m. on March 25th, Montreal was shaken by 3 skyquakes on the west side of the island. A thunderstorm was approaching, but weather experts were not convinced there was a link. On May 14th, Mount Airy, North Carolina, was hit with yet another skyquake. One resident said it's been averaging 2 per week this year. The local police have heard the booms and investigated them, but say they've found nothing. Anyone following the mysterious booms and noises reported around the world know that this is just the tip of the shaking iceberg. Are San Diegans convinced it's nothing to worry about? Of course not. They want their paradise back before it's gone. They probably don't want their skyquakes to get a name either, like the mysterious Seneca guns, which helped the tourist business around Seneca Lake in New York, like James Fenimore Cooper never could. San Diego doesn't need any help, neither do Montreal or Mount Airy. They just want some answers and some peace and quiet. So yeah, mystery booms going on over San Diego. Military saying it's not sonic booms, because right off the bat I'm thinking, okay, well, San Diego Navy base, maybe they're doing training out over the water, flying some jets at supersonic, and they're hearing the booms over San Diego. So I mean, that's a possibility. But I mean,
and if they're testing a classified
yeah, the
they
media
don't
the
have to
military,
tell you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the military's obviously going to say, "Oh, it's not us. We don't know what's going on," right? I mean, just straight up, just
Virginia last week. I seen it was Travis and Derek and Bill were talking about this in a chat box over on Facebook. There was supposed to have been mystery type booms and banging heard there as well. Wonder if we're going to be set for another one of these kind of episodes where we start to hear these things in multiple locations. Remember we got the sky trumpets at one point? Remember all those things were going on? I don't know. We're going to have to keep our eye on it, I would imagine.
Now, here's another possibility. Well, I was just going to say, here's another, I would say, I'll throw out maybe a possible logical explanation. A lot of private companies now, or at least 3 that I know of, are trying to get back into the whole supersonic passenger jet business. You know, since Concorde is no longer flying, right? A lot of companies are starting to see the interest in supersonic passenger flight is re-emerging again. And I wonder if some of these private companies are testing some of these planes. I know that I was watching a thing and they were actually going to be working with a few cities in a few areas, because, currently you can't fly a plane supersonic over land, right? The law does not allow for that. But they're developing these new aircraft that have, because of their profile, the way they're shaped and stuff, they've done a lot of work on them to try and reduce the rapport of a sonic boom. It kind of like deadens the sound of a sonic boom. It still creates a sound. It still creates a thud, but it's nowhere near as loud or as intense as like a regular sonic boom. And I think they said here within the next couple of years, or, in that time frame, like from this point, into the next few years or so, they're going to be working with getting permission from certain cities, they said, to fly their planes over and kind of get a gauge of how much disruption it may cause, if it bothers people or if it's going to be an issue, because they're really kind of pushing for this supersonic passenger flight again. So it makes me wonder, I mean, is it some of these companies maybe testing some of their aircraft over there, and of course the military wouldn't really know about it. Well, I mean, I guess they would because they got radar and all that, but I mean, it's not. It wouldn't be the military actually doing it. So I don't know. Maybe that could be something. I don't know.
As I shared with you, gentlemen, while I was in the Navy, I was stationed in San Diego. That's where I went to boot camp, and it's also where I was on the first ship, the USS Fox, out of 32nd Street. Now, my mother-in-law, she lived, and I can't remember the suburb or the area of San Diego, but if you know where La Jolla is, and then you head straight east and go over I-5, up there on the hills is where she lived. Now, there was one evening when I was there with my future wife. She was just my fiance at the time. And we were staying the night. And then all of a sudden, just before sundown, we heard this huge roar or rumbling. And we went outside, and practically everybody there in the cul-de-sac were outside too, looking around. And we're wondering, what the hell is it? For one brief second, I thought it apocalyptic, and so then the following day, when I went back to, work on the ship, I have friends that work in CIC, combat control. And I asked, what the hell was going on? So then I find out that north of San Diego is Miramar. And on Miramar, they have this area where they do secret testing of engines of the latest and greatest planes that we're having for the military. So as you said, the military isn't going to divulge any secrets, especially on new experimental propulsion. And so my speculation, of course, seemingly all of these air phenomenons are happening pretty darn close to military bases. So my speculation would definitely go, governmental, military, and like Scotty just said, private contracted entities.
Yeah, it's possible, but that's not to discount the whole skyquake phenomenon. Because I've heard the mystery booms myself multiple times, and I've spoke about it here. And it's a very bizarre thing. It's still something that's hard for me to wrap my mind around because it sounds like thunder, it sounds like a low rumble of thunder. It's not like super loud, but it's something you notice. And you can't discern which direction it's coming from. It's directionless. It just sounds like it's directly overhead. And so I don't know, man. It's maybe it has something to do with the electromagnetic field.
That many unknowns when it comes to the atmosphere as well.
Yeah.
The effects.
There's so much that could cause it that you can't really pin it down to one specific thing. And so you got the mystery booms, right? But then you got the sky trumpets, and you got the sounds that sound like metal scraping, almost like a train track or something. How do you explain that? That's not a plane going supersonic. That's not anything like that. And the duration that it lasts too, we've seen those videos where it goes on for minutes and minutes and minutes, 15 minutes, something like that, where you just hear this metallic scraping and grinding noise. And you're like, what the hell is that?
That is the bizarre ones.
Yeah.
They were very ominous indeed. That sounded like, dodgy stuff, man.
Now, I'm kind of jumping topics here, but it just popped in my head. I remember you posted a video, Kev, some UFO video, a couple of weeks ago, where you saw these it looked like flashing.
Yeah, it was a listener over in Tucson. No, in fact, it was Mesa, Arizona.
Really?
Yeah.
the reason I bring that up, because I was watching one of these like paranormal caught on camera shows, you know, and they had a UFO video from Louisiana. And I was like, whoa, that looks
Same
just
kind
like
of
the
thing?
video Kev posted. Yeah, it's these flickering dots, these lights blipping in and out. And I was like, whoa. I was like, that reminds me of the video Kev posted. I was telling my mom. And then they're like, here's another video not too far away. It was also in Louisiana, but it was about 50 miles away or something like that. Same thing. These dots blipping in and out. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? And so, like, is this a new UFO phenomenon? Like these lights that kind of twinkle and blip in and out? I mean, I guess it's always been maybe a phenomenon of UFOs, but
it's a weird one. You know me,
Yeah.
Scott, I'm really hard to impress with videos of things, but that was a head scratcher. We'll be back after the break. Don't go anywhere.
I'm actually going to try and dig up the video, the Louisiana UFO video, and then if you can pull yours up, and maybe we can like do some comparison and see if we're looking at the same thing here. I'll be right back. I'm gonna dig that up real quick.
Just looking at the chat room, a lot of people talking about CERN and particle accelerators in the chat room. I cringe because I really wonder how much of a part I've played in this with the shows I done with Anthony Patch. I honestly think CERN gets a whole lot more credit than it's probably due. And I'll tell you why I say that. It's not to say it's not a really game-changing machine, but you have to appreciate that it's one of many. It's the best of hundreds. And there's literally hundreds out there. You've got circular ones. But John in the chat was talking about how most universities, they'll have linear particle accelerating technology nowadays as well. Whether it's CERN making noises over San Diego or not, maybe look closer to home. There's bound to be some around that location. But again, do I think it's CERN related or particle collider related? I don't know, but the CERN thing, I do. I really, I wonder how much. Of that was Patch and me getting into people's minds, Scott. The CERN virus.
You know, when Scotty was talking earlier about, the planes and all of that before we went into UFOs. Now, if you look at atmospheric pressure of high pressures and low pressures, if a plane is flying in between those pressure changes, then it can amplify its propulsion, its thrust. Now, if you think about breaking the sound barrier, and with experimental craft, if it is somewhat like UFO technology to where once they raise off of the ground and then they go to such a quick propulsion where they can change the electromagnetic field of the craft, thus the Earth's field would thrust them off of the planet. And if it is such a speed, it causes sonic booms, or it'll cause like a major pop or crackling because it literally will change the static of the atmosphere. And this is the thing that's so incredible about these, these crafts that are being witnessed, whether they be ours or theirs or somebody else's.
Of course,
it's going to have, they're going to have these same effects when, if you think about it, between your walls, if you get knocking between your walls, then it's sometimes amplified. And how did Bose make all of their money? Bose speakers, they used the amplification of a hollow box to assist it getting louder. So technology is crazy.
You kind of you nailed it with the kind of tic-tacs and the videos that are coming out. Nathan, come on, it's beyond coincidence that these things just happen to be in some of the most militarized zones in the world, and they just happen to be where the Navy are exercising, and in amongst all the sneaky beaky electronic warfare companies, military industrial complex kind of contractors, all the kind of places that could feasibly, very feasibly be creating and inventing craft that may or may not be able to do things that would look miraculous to us. So I think if I had to put my money on these videos that we've seen so far, I'd go close to home, eh? Here we go. Here we go. You bring it back, Nacy. You bring it back. Here we go. I'll count you in. 3, 2, 1. 2 secs.
After the Wookiee. Hello and hi. Here we are, us three guys, on June 11th, Freaky Friday. Our number, who knows? You do, not me. But thank you for coming back again and forth again and back again and forth again to this ritual, habitual. Thank you so much for being here. Kev, could you please share with the audience how they can find you in the internet world?
In the internet world, I was just looking at what Scotty was typing there. In the internet world, you can find me every day, near enough. Monday to Friday, anyway, you'll find me on tfrlive.com, Truth Frequency Radio. Monday to Thursday, I've got the Kev Baker Show. Friday, hook up with these guys here, and the three of us together are Freaky Friday. Sunday, I'm with Bill Bean, Derek Stroman, Travis Short, and we are Warrior Mode on Bill Bean's YouTube channel. You can find me most days on Kev Baker Show live streaming YouTube channel. Boy, did we have a laugh the other night through the night with a man in a dog suit. But you can also find me on Twitter when I'm not getting put in Twitter jail. And I am on Facebook, but probably I don't see the kind of I don't see any benefit in adding me on Facebook because I rarely participate there. So Twitter, Discord, TFR. If you need me, you can find me. But thank you, Nacy. I'm very reluctant sometimes. You know what it is, actually? I'm very forgetful. I never promote where I am. I'm really useless at this whole game, Nacy.
I understand that, and Captain, you know, we have to pay for parts of the douche canoe. So please share, like, subscribe, either on tfrlive.com or on YouTube, because there's ways that you can help Kev Baker keep the douche canoe flying.
I like that. We need parts for the douche canoe. I like it. Is this like the USS douche canoe?
Well, I don't know if I'd want to call it USS. How about ESS, Earth Spaceship?
Oh, I like it, dude. Or HMS.
Right?
Her Majesty's
and Dr.
Spaceship.
Dr. Scott, our engineer, and I'm just the purser. I'm in charge of. I think we described this last week.
Ensign Shores. Come on now, Ensign Nacy. Listen,
I want to be Seaman Shores.
You want to be better than being Seaman Stains. That's all I can say. So, yes, indeed. Ba-ding, ding, ching, boom. You want to hear my new soundboard collaboration, ladies and gentlemen? I've actually made a collaboration. Wait till I make sure I've got it on the right one here. You ready for it, guys? You ready? Like a mega mix. You ready?
Come on, man.
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
Are you serious?
How dare you?
Hey, there you go. They all string together perfect, I think, right?
The Greta, the creme de la creme of that one there.
Now, Mr. Scotty. Oh, hang on. Scotty, comms are out. You're muted up. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Indeed.
The mothership had to get involved there. That's the mothership that calls in from time to time, ladies and gents. Yes.
I was about to say that soundboard clip.
Okay.
It was the four horsemen of something.
Of something. A really strange apocalypse, right? But here's a question. And it comes from one of our listeners called Phoebe. I've thought about this many's a time. And I think it's a really interesting conversation to have. What if call them ETs, call them extraterrestrials, call them aliens, call them reptilians, call them the Greys. I think probably Phoebe's thinking more along the lines of the Greys here. But what if the Greys are just our future self? What if that's humanity in the future? And I'll add to it for Phoebe. And I'll say whatever's gone wrong, we can see something's happened because we've changed drastically. And we can tell that they come back here and they've got some kind of fascination with our code, right? Whether it's bovine code when they're doing the cattle disappearances, or whether it's when you hear about humans being taken aboard craft and used in reproductive experimentation. Dare I say it, jiggering and jiggering of the genetics. Yeah, so are they? Could they be, guys? Is there any way that they're our future self?
It's an interesting hypothesis that I've heard proposed many times, and one that I like to entertain on occasion. It's a fascinating hypothesis. Yeah, I mean, if we do manage to survive for, a long enough period of time to where we're able to advance our technology to the point to where we do crack that code, right? We do manage to create that technology of time travel or something along that lines, something to bend space-time or manipulate it in some way, then maybe it is a possibility that we are encountering our future selves who are coming back to do some kind of research or see what's going on. Look, if it's our future selves that are taking a very special interests in cattle, that makes me extremely afraid of what the future is like. What happened to the cattle?
What happened to the burgers? Burgers are gone.
What happened?
You see what happens generationally if there's no burgers for a number of generations? We'll start looking like the Greys.
Did Greta get her way? Is that what happened? Who knows? But I think it's fascinating to think about that. And obviously, look, if we're talking about, we'll say hundreds of thousands of years of evolution of humans, right? We're not going to look like we do now. We're going to look different. We're going to look a lot different. We're going to evolve into something that looks a lot different. So our appearance would be alien to us, right?
Now let me throw this into the mix as well, Scott. You're going to like this. You too, Nacy. Ken Ami. Oh, big shout out, Ken. He's the guy who came on to the show and blew my mind because he made a really fascinating case for there being absolutely no Nephilim after the flood. I'm telling you, it's a fascinating show. I urge anyone to go and check that out. And we always say on here that you need to challenge everything that you think you know. And we always talk about the giants on here. And that's why I thought it was a really, really interesting kind of conversation to have with Ken. Now, do I still talk about giants after the flood? I do. But I still think Ken Ami was onto something when he talked about that. But he's talking about this here now. And he says, I tracked the hypothesis talking about is that our future selves? He says, via the golden era of sci-fi and fantasy literature. It began with that it was human time travelers and then changed to they were aliens. So at the beginning, it was assumed that they were our future selves.
Huh? So it was like the original hypothesis. It was the original thought.
I like it.
I do too, because it's always been something that's in the back of my mind. Like, are we really dealing with aliens, or are we just dealing with ourselves? I'm
telling you, man. Let's get Nacy. Nacy, what do you think, man? What are you making of all this, dude?
Okay, so if there is a possibility that we can manipulate the timelines, if our future entities realize that something was going to affect or there was a causation because of the past, if they wanted to prevent that from happening, theoretically, they would want to somehow travel back in time, whether using the stargates or utilizing some type of propulsion, to open these portals and stuff. It would seem logical that they would want to minimally maybe bury technology in the ground that they know in the future it's going to be there. So in theory, if you went into the past and you buried some type of technology, and then you went into your backyard and dug it up, because the minute you came back, it's there. And so you would be able to utilize that for your benefit. And as I've said before, if you want to detect whether or not how close you are to being alien genetically manipulated, check out the pinky finger. The short pinky finger. Because they say that as we evolve, our pinky fingers are getting to the point of where they no longer shall be, because they've outlasted their usefulness. If you look at all of your fingers comparatively to the strength you have when you grip something, if you look at them compared to your pinky finger and all the other ones, there's not as much strength. So imagine way back in the day when we needed such strength in our hands that we needed 6 fingers instead of 5.
I love the whole I agree. No, I'm looking at the chat, and I love all of the different takes that people have on the Greys. Right? Like, some people say that the Greys are us from like a timeline where the dark took over the planet, and maybe Earth was destroyed or something like that. Then you've got people saying that, the Greys are cloned AI, that they're not even organic, and there's so many different takes on it.
What's your take, though? What's your take?
What's my take on the Greys? I don't know.
I think they're I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I honestly do think they're like some kind of biological robotoid, like from a very advanced alien civilization. Perhaps we send out drones, autonomous drones, and we've got AI that control our drones, but maybe in the distant future or not too distant future, we'll scale that up and we'll send out drone ships into the cosmos, and instead of having humans who, well, the way it is just now, we're not really cut out for long-term space travel. But if you've got some kind of genetically engineered robotoid, and by genetically engineered, I quite obviously mean with a healthy portion of, oh, please let me find it, please let me find it. There we go.
Jittering and jittering.
Jiggering and jiggering, yes, with a lot of jiggering and jiggering.
Can we go beyond the tip?
You can go beyond the
black
tip,
hole?
but don't take it to the algorithm. Just go beyond the tip, but there's a line that says algorithm.
What if the Greys are in the future? Our video gaming has gotten so complex and so technologically advanced that the Greys are avatars that when we're putting on our virtual reality headgear, we get to go into a Grey, and then we get to time travel back and walk around and witness what's going on in the past.
I'll throw this out there now that we're going there. I'm gonna go to
we're deep, baby.
We're deep, baby. Kev's hypothesis of them being some kind of a robotoid or something.
I tell you, man, that Jimmy Jeans, he's like a mind virus. He tells me something, and initially when he tells me it, I burst out laughing. I react as if to say, Jimmy, you're mad. And I was telling you, without failure, about 3 months later, I hear myself talking and I think, holy crap, he was
right. Jimmy definitely has that effect, don't he? Like, where when you first hear him, it's almost preposterous. It's absurd. It's almost
absurd.
It's absurd. You know, and then it's like a month later, you find yourself robotoids, man, maybe. You know.
And then you think to yourself, if it wasn't for Jimmy Jeans, would I have ever have gone down the robotoid ladder? You see.
I'm going to combine a little bit of what you said with a little bit of what Naysay said. And what if we're dealing with a alien species that is able to quantumly entangle their consciousness with a drone, with a avatar, if you will. And so these grays that you're interacting with here on Earth are actually being controlled by the consciousness of some guy just sitting on his home planet.
Okay, then. Okay, so what about this then? Because this ties into a bigger thought experiment I went through earlier on today and I scared myself. But what if we're actually creating the greys? Think about it, right? Think about it.
You know, action.
Yeah, a big bit of tulpa action. Maybe Ken and me would be the best person kind of place to answer this, but when did they first appear in popular culture? How did we first perceive aliens when they were presented to us in drawings or stories or fictional accounts? And then the more you hear about the kind of blueprint for a grey alien, could some instances, not all, but even if they're real, guys, even if they're real, there's still a chance we could create our own if we put enough energy and focus on it. And I say that this built on something that I was thinking about earlier on today, and this is going to be highly controversial. People are going to hate me for saying this. I'm going to tell you that right now. But I've always had a big problem with the Bible. And I've got a big problem with any organized religion, only because it's men and women that come together and put the story together and then give us these sets of rules and whatever. But I was thinking about it. And we often talk about how it's like a human flaw, where we always look for some kind of authority figure, somebody to kind of lead us and things like that, right? Right? And we talked about that. That's cool. So when we go back in the day to these earlier times and the more learned class, the ones that were in the mystery schools and the ones that knew a bit more about how all this worked than the peons, the common man. What if you convince enough people, if you can convince enough people to follow along with and believe in something called God, does that in itself lead to the manifestation of a God? If enough people believe in something that originally might not have been there in the form that we're talking about. But there's over 1 billion Catholics. Right? Over 1 billion Muslims. So they're all believing, they've all got faith that this thing exists, right? And do they create their own then? When you've got that many people focused on an entity, we would often say, well, when you get that many people, even a couple of 100,000 focusing on the Slender Man, it brings it to life, right? Now we're getting into like people sharing a worldview. Could that construct?
But I'll throw this out there.
Whoa.
What about before there was established religion and you had like what would you consider them, like pagan tribes or even beyond that? Where did that concept come from? Or did that come to them?
And were they not mainly looking at planets and the sun and things at that point though?
They realized that there was something great. I get what you mean about spirituality being weaponized into religion and being set up as a form of control, in the form of established religion, but they were already how would you say, exploiting something that was already there, which was people's belief in a higher power of some kind. And I think that that's kind of an innate thing that people have always felt, and maybe have been able to how would you say, form communities and tribes around it. But it's something that I think, we've realized for a long time. But no, I get what you're coming from. I get where you're going with that, though.
And listen, I'm
do.
somebody that believes in God. It's not like I'm some raging atheist trying to attack religion or anything. You know that,
Yeah, I know. But no, I get what you're saying. By establishing that and getting everybody on the same page thinking about the same thing, then are you able to manifest something out of that, And by all accounts, we really have manifested stuff out of that, right? I mean, I don't know. It's a very interesting.
Big time.
That gets in the whole thing of creating your reality. Is the mind receiving information from reality, or is the mind projecting reality?
Well, I was reading a fascinating thing about reality today. I might actually still have it dug up here. I do. But the headline itself is quite thought-provoking. Some scientists believe that the universe itself is conscious. Now, what this gets into here is basically, to boil it down without reading all the way through it, gets into something called panpsychism. And panpsychism is something where everything is at some level of consciousness. Even a rock. But a rock is not as complex and as full of as many systems as a human is, per se. So the level of complexity kind of dictates the level of what we would call consciousness.
This is almost like scientists are starting to somewhat validate a little bit some of the Eastern beliefs.
Possibly, but I'm terrified. I'm terrified now because the wokelings and the crazies out there are now going to say, now that stone didn't consent to being laid down as a curbstone,
Now, remember I was talking about the Japanese and what they believe. I watched a thing on it, on Shinto and, what they believe. And they believe that everything is conscious at some level. Everything carries a soul, or and so I find it interesting that scientists are now kind of toying with that idea and looking into it. And look, I didn't need a scientist to tell me that the universe was conscious. Bill Hicks told me that.
Exactly.
Years ago.
Let's get Naysay. Let's get Naysay before we go to the break. What do you think of this, Naysay? It says in this article, it sounds like a bad trip, but what if it's true? The universe conscious, everything conscious, Naysay. Panpsychism. What do you say, man?
Well, not confirming or denying that I may or may not have eaten my equivalent weight in pizza toppings and going here, there, and everywhere as I have my Mad Hatter tea parties. I absolutely will confirm that there is something to it. And a friend of mine that came and visited me today was just sharing with me about these new series on TV. And if within our DNA is memory, would we have the ability, if somehow we change the parameters of the electromagnetivity within our brain, would we be able to go down the specific rabbit hole of our DNA and go into those past lives, or go into those cells and that cellular memory of the past, so we can find out what has occurred or what possibly is occurring?
How would you know that this is something I struggle with, Nacy? And I think this is a good time to bring it up, right? If we could do that, If somebody claimed that they could do that, and we could get into our Akashic record, our own Akashic record, where we come from, our kind of timeline, what we've been doing in this, version, or not this particular version, but all versions we've been in. How do you know that when you're examining, or when you say you're examining the records, the memories, how on earth can you test whether you're reading that or whether you're imagining it? How do you determine imagination from the actual process that you're talking about? And I carry this forward into regression. I carry it forward into a lot of things. How can you determine that you're recalling an event, or your mind is generating it? Because our minds, if I know one thing, they're absolutely brilliant at rendering the impossible, the implausible, things that have never happened, right?
But here's where's that information coming from that your mind is generating?
I'll tell you after the break.
We will.
I'm just saying, in an insane world.
Yeah, it's an interesting. It's one of those interesting things where you can kind of go into an infinite loop of like where the information originates from, right? Because, the person, I guess, could be making it up, or their mind could be, but where's that information coming from, right? It's like when somebody writes a novel, they made it up, right? They came up with that story, or did they come up with that story, or did that story come to them? And if that's the case, where'd that information originate?
That adds a third option to my thing. Then how do you know whether you're reading your DNA, you're imagining it, or like Scotty's putting here, you're actually pulling it out of the cloud?
Well, even beyond that, think of the technological.
No.
Well, the technological advancement of where they're utilizing electromagnetic pulse weaponry, they can imprint the powers that should not be. They can imprint through those waves thoughts that we're thinking, or what we're hearing, and possibly what we're seeing. So can they use electromagnetic weaponry to manipulate us to such a point that we start hallucinating? And so what I would do is the full spectrum, as I talk about the Holy Trinity, positive, neutral, and negative. On one aspect, it would be totally fabricated, and then the other perspective would be the truth that you're tapping into, this, that, or the other thing. And so we have to have our own discernment through scientific deduction, where we have to do the ritual, create a ritual, so then we can write down the data and then check it. Because could we say that if you make a prediction of the future and it keeps coming true, would that individual have that ability if the data states that, yes, he's predicting the future? So then would we, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, would we call that person a prophet, or just lucky at predicting coincidences?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, back in the day, they would consider that person a prophet, right? They would say, "Oh, this guy has this form of, like clairvoyance or something like that." And I mean, look at the ancient Greeks. They had the oracles, right? And from what it sounds like to me, oracles were kind of these gifted individuals, if you will. These young women who had the ability to...
Witches, Scott. The lot of them, they were witches.
Are you a good witch or a bad witch?
I'm only joking. I'm sure they were all good witches.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But no,
Well, could I go back to the gray for a second?
Well, wait,
Because
we're
this-
about to go back to the network, so give it a couple of seconds and we'll go back to Grays, my good man. I want to thank everyone, and please hit share for the last hour. Hit like again, and we will don't hit it again if you've hit it already. It'll take it off. It was really misspoken there.
After Naysay talks about the Greys, I'll chime in on the universe.
Yes, indeed, we're back. 1 hour to go on your Freaky Friday. Some deep, deep woo is starting to ferment here for hour number 3. We were getting into consciousness. We were talking about panpsychism. And next week on the show, I'm going to be doing an actual show. There's a lot of articles out right now about scientists looking at consciousness, and it's fascinating. But I know Naysay here is wanting to take us back into something as equally fascinating, and it's where we segued away from. It's the Greys. What's your thoughts? Now, I prefer the Nordics, to be honest with you, Naysay, but I'm very toxic and I'm very misogynistic. So the thought of big, tall blondes coming my way, fills me full of glee, my friend. Reptilians, not so much. The Greys, I'm kind of in the middle of the road with, you know?
Right, but it is lucky in your stature that someone who's over 5'6" is considered tall.
Oh, absolutely,
Sorry.
Absolutely.
I'm not sorry. But, you know, your buddy there over on the other side of the lock, if I recall right, in some of his scribblings, that he pronounced that one of his entities that he channeled or conjured would possibly be similar to looking like a gray.
Yeah, it was Pan or Lamb. I can't remember which one it was.
Lamb.
Lamb, was it?
So maybe he was able to tap in or possibly see someone from the future coming back in their avatar and shared his thoughts.
Yeah, it was definitely Lamb. We're looking at it here. It definitely, I mean, it's hard to escape that looks very much like a grey.
The big bulbous head down to the tapered down chin and all of that. It's very, very interesting. I mean, there's that whole question of, are we even dealing with like extraterrestrials, or are we dealing with something
interdimensional
or supernatural? You know, there's a lot of people out there who, and you know, maybe there's something, I mean, because I'm open to all different kinds of hypothesis and theories and whatnot. I mean, I'm not open to all.
No, we're not, Scott. No, we're not. Yes, indeed.
We're open to all, but if it's super ridiculous,
when you leave your mind that open, your brain tends to fall out.
Yeah, can't leave your mind too open. Can't leave it too.
Any orifices open too much could possibly be filled.
Exactly. You need to have some golden thread to kind of anchor you in.
But there are people out there who discuss the whole topic of, is this whole alien thing a deception, right? The alien deception, if you will. And are they just trying to convince people that, oh, these are just aliens from another planet, when actually they're supernatural in origin? And, you know, maybe we're talking about demons or angels or something along that lines. I'm open to that possibility as well. And that was actually something that I had been I was on that kind of train for quite a while, where I'm like, you know what? Maybe we're dealing with something supernatural here. Maybe we're dealing with something interdimensional, you know? And when you start talking about it in those terms, and of course you're going to be dealing with things that are going to be doing things that we have no concept of, like how to do it or what it's doing, or have, and we'll just use, for example, say it's an angelic thing that somebody's witnessing. This angel could be just moving at incredible speeds and doing anything at once at will. Because, we're talking about a higher being here. We're talking about something that exists on a higher plane of existence, on a whole nother level of, in a whole nother higher dimension. Of course, it's going to be able to do things that our physics doesn't understand or is unable to do currently. So,
well, Scotty, I have to interrupt you because our good friend, the man with the portal, is in the chat room.
Nice.
Yes, indeed. He says
Well,
the link
Scotty?
didn't work. I'm not sure what link. Probably the link I sent out. But it's good to see you here, Brent. And I've been telling people, us guys reminded them that this is like the start of lots of woo here on TFR Live and YouTube on Friday, because you, my friend, are firing up the portal as we speak. Or is Don Longbeard, is he testing it out? I think Don is on portal duty today.
If I listen carefully enough, I can hear the coils starting to warm up. They're starting to. I think Don has already flipped the switch and he's letting the portal warm up before he opens her up for everybody. So
yeah.
Well, Donnie Longbeard, his beard is so long that he uses it as like a ripcord. When you start up your lawnmower, he'll just wrap that around the coil and give a good head yank back, and whoopee doopie, here we go.
They're starting.
Did I hear like Scotty talking there? But you were away from the mic.
I was not talking.
But did you hear that?
Yes, I heard it. What? You didn't have no audio of me pulled up?
No, dude, no. I know when you put the camera off, you're going and doing what you're doing, and I know you move away from the mic.
Yeah, I didn't put it on or.
No.
Wow, that was weird. Maybe that was my future self coming back to visit.
That was a bit
Or
weird.
maybe
right?
somebody
That was
with
a bit
that-
weird.
Weird.
Freaky Friday, the woo is abundantly on several levels.
Well, that got a bit uncomfortable really quickly there, didn't it?
I see Brent posting the shock.
ZX said they're talking. Yep, that's what I heard. And Scott, I know when you put the camera off, I know you moved to the side, so I know it's not you.
Yeah, I literally was not saying anything.
No.
Because I heard that, and I thought maybe
your gate anyway. When you move away from the mic, there's a chance your gate wouldn't even pick up you talking.
Yeah, I've got a hardcore noise gate and everything that blocks sound and all.
3 of them. You do have multiple gates, so I'm not even making that up. You've got like, yep,
I do.
Yeah.
Got the RTX. I've got my mixer, and
exactly. Ken and me says real life, real time woofology.
Hey, it's not the
Freaky Friday, man.
We had black masses moving in front of Kev's cam one time that I pointed out to him.
It disturbed me greatly.
Now I've got like phantom voices of myself coming through.
And Zoe in the chat room, just to make it really ominous and dark, many people have poltergeist activity, yet they don't tell anyone. It's everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. It's everywhere. If it hasn't come to you yet, it's coming soon. That little breathing on the back of your neck, or a little voice like Scott's just randomly, they're speaking.
I'm still trying. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that one, folks.
I see brain dead people.
Oh, Pearlie's getting freaked out in the chair up there in Inverness. She's getting freaked out. I heard Scotty too.
Now, what did I say? Did people say that?
They're speaking. They're speaking. Or they're talking. Yeah, they're speaking or they're talking. What? Yeah.
They're speaking, Kev. they're speaking to me.
Oh, maybe that was like that was the Freaky Friday team from the other side. They were taking a look in because they've got the technology where they can peer into our timeline. They're like, look, they're talking. Look at them fools.
See, we're discussing timelines. We're doing all that stuff, and you know that like the Freaky Friday crew in the other timelines probably like everything's almost phased up, not completely, but almost. They're talking about that, and
maybe they're waiting for us to graduate. Maybe there's like there's a meter over there when we start getting close to where we need to be, and they were like, whoa, hang on. They're almost there. They're almost. Nah, they're just still talking. You said they're just talking.
The Freaky Friday crew in the other dimension is freaked out right now, talking about the exact same thing because probably something I said on this end popped in on their thing, and they're like, "Whoa, did you hear that?"
The timelines just collided.
Do you think then? Let's go quantum for a couple of minutes. Do you think there is? We'll just go for one. I mean, if we're going down this road, we really have to go for many, but it gets confusing quickly. But do you think we are, or there is an alternative verse, another universe where things are the same, but not the same, slightly tweaked differently, where it would be recognizable if we landed on the opposing timeline?
I'll go one step further. I think it will be complete. I think there are many multiples of dimensions that, for all intents and purposes, are exactly the same as ours, except for one very slight detail that might be different. And that doesn't even have to be on Earth. For all we know, Earth could be exactly the same and go and play out exactly the same as our timeline. Maybe that difference exists in another galaxy somewhere, on another planet. You know what I mean? I mean, it just has to be that minute of a change. So, yeah, I mean, who made the rule? That's the thing that always blew my mind. Who made the rule that the change in another dimension has to be here on Earth or even involve us in any way whatsoever? We're talking about the universe, right? That change could be on Proxima B Alpha, whatever, in an entirely different galaxy.
You just popped my noodle, Scott.
Right?
So to add to that, if we look at the universe, there's claims that the universe is a huge spiral. And within those spirals are several solar systems. So what if all of those solar systems out there are the different timelines where the creation of our solar system from the beginning, through all of its different changes and timelines, have created a different solar system. And so it's just this coalescence of all of these different solar systems, which are actually the same solar system, but a different timeline, to where the Earth didn't capture the moon and it kept in its whole perfect symmetrical or asymmetrical Garden of Eden, or it was wiped out and destroyed. So, yeah. Thanks, Scott.
Yes. I you know, that was always one thing that irked me when people are like, "Oh, there's a slight change in the timeline." Okay, well, it's Earth. We're not the only place in the universe where a change could take place.
I know people are sick of hearing it, but that's what Geordie Boy said, right? The one difference to the universe they go, if you want to call it that, the dimension, is the D wave. That's the only difference, or a qubit. And like Scott says, everything could be exactly the same apart from one rock on a planet we don't even know about.
Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying? So my head starts to hurt. And I think anyone who thinks about this, and you're thinking about it right, when you get into many worlds, it's preposterous. But remember what we said about preposterous earlier on. It doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. But for every split-second decision that we make, all of us, we're all branching off all these different. It starts to get really, your brain explodes.
Yeah, maybe a star went supernova in some galaxy somewhere in one timeline, and maybe it didn't in another. And but going back to the whole universal consciousness thing, right? Well, I mean, that would tie into quantum physics and spooky action at a distance, quantum entanglement, because if we all originated from one source, and I mean, we can debate on the origin of everything, whether you believe in the standard Big Bang model or God, let there be light, or somebody turning on the mainframe to the simulation or whatever. The fact is that all of our, everything came out of nothing, came out of a point at some point. So basically everything in the universe is quantumly entangled at some level because we all emerged from the same source.
And that's the thing, Scott. See, that's another thing. When we look at quantum entanglement, it's absolutely spooky action at a distance because you've got things that can be separated by cosmic distances, and they're going to respond at not even any time gap, no speed of light time to get there, nothing, just instantaneous. But like you say, Scott, when all of this came into being, I mean, that spooky action at a distance becomes a whole lot less spooky if we find out that there's some basic framework that holds everything together from the minute the Big Bang happened and everything. And again, we don't have the science yet, maybe. Maybe there is. Maybe when they're looking for the God particle and things like that, maybe this is what they are looking for, that smallest unit. And then we're going to find out, holy shamoly, this is omnipresent, this stuff. It's everywhere, so we're all connected.
Yeah, because at some point, we were all, everything in the universe was packed together at a singular point.
Freaky Friday was just a possibility, Scott.
Indeed. And like I said, I mean, I'm not here to argue the theories of how it all began.
Yes, he is, ladies and gentlemen. He's branching out. He's creating his own cult. Go on, Scott. Drag us into it, man. How did it happen?
I don't know. It's a long story, but I'll tell you later.
Nice.
No, but I mean, yeah, like I said, whether you believe it's a simulation or whether, God did it, which I'm open to all that. It all came from one. Look, there was nothing there, and then there was something there. And somewhere in between, everybody was everything was smushed together and quantumly entangled. So, going back to the consciousness thing, right? If a rock on some planet has some form of consciousness, right? Like what these scientists are kind of dabbling into and we're discussing. Well, what's that rock composed of? Well, at its core, it's composed of elements, just the basic raw elements. At one point, an element in that rock could have been part of a living being on another planet.
Don't go down this. Point. Don't go into the mud fossil. You're telling you, did you gonna tell me it was a giant going to sleep?
I'm not going full mud fossil.
Not yet.
I'm not going universal.
I'm
mud
lost.
Yet.
I'm lost in the darkness right now, down the rabbit hole, where if we look at the microcosm and the macrocosm, as we break down the smallest particulate of these elements, we get to a point of where it seemingly looks like a black hole. And then when we go deeper, there's a spark of light. And so if we think in the macrocosm, in our solar system, allegedly there is the black hole, or I call it the black sphere, and the light is the sun. And then on the greater macrocosm, we have the universe and the galactic center, which seemingly is a black hole also. So with that theory being said, if the sun eventually got sucked into the black sphere, would that be the Big Bang occurring on the break on through to the other side?
Well, we're just one part of a giant universe, so this is just our galaxy, that, isn't it? I mean, if our galaxy disappeared, I mean, it wouldn't affect the rest of the universe, right? Or would it?
No.
I wouldn't think so.
No. No. Our galaxy is just one of like
trillions.
I think trillions of galaxies in the universe.
See, this is where it gets confusing as well, because we've never got any chance of even exploring our own galaxy. And now you're telling, and it's not that you're telling me, but now we've got to factor in there's trillions of galaxies.
The amount of the distances that we're talking about are on levels that like the human mind has a hard time comprehending. Like, look, just the Milky Way galaxy itself, just our own little galaxy here in this soup of the universe, just the Milky Way. If you were to go from one end to the other, 100,000 light years. Just to get across our own galaxy. It's insane. It's insane, man. So, excuse me. We'll be lucky to just make it to other solar systems within our own galaxy, let alone make it to another galaxy. It's crazy, man.
But what if you have the star map to where you know where the gates or the portals are, and you can go portal jumping from one end of the spectrum to the other one?
Fire up the Stargate, that's what I say, dude. I'm telling you, the Stargate option, and you're muted up again, Scotty. Oh, so now we're hearing fake Scots, the real Scots getting drowned out. You've got Ooga Boogas, Scott.
I was coughing. I was having a coughing fit.
I can see a bit of the eyes tell the tale of a cough. Was that a PPP-induced cough? No?
No, that was just a random...
that was the other Scott trying to actually... He was trying to invade your spacesuit, dude. They're trying to make their way in from the other side.
I was like,
Yeah, that way you go in horror movies when you're trying to get, like, fight off that possession.
I keep pondering if Scotty called me an angel because he said earlier that these angels are on a higher consciousness. And brothers, I'm consistently finding a higher consciousness.
Now, now listen, folks, there you go. Nacy has just christened himself the Angel of Freaky Friday. I need to do some kind of Photoshop shenanigans with that. The Archangel Nacy. I like it. I like it, Nacy.
I would like to have dragon wings instead of feather wings.
Dragon wings.
Because I think they're just cool.
You know what's really weird? I can actually do you a set of dragon wings. I've got the 3D model for that, so be careful what you wish for there, you know?
But
I'll be jiggering and jaggering going on.
Yeah. Well, wasn't it the cherub that had 6 different wings? So give me some dragon wings, some feather wings, and then some metal wings.
Didn't we look at the cherubs before and they turned out to be evil, nasty looking little things, didn't we?
Yep.
Yeah, the cherubs weren't the like the fat, plump, little cute little.
Yeah, it was little bows and arrow, you know, and that. They're like a close relation to the gargoyle, the ghouls, the Ooga Boogas. Not good.
That was that past Freaky Friday show when we were talking about the hierarchy of angels.
Mm.
Oh, excuse me, gentlemen. Before I forget, talking about the past, Freaky Friday, if I may say out there to a very dear acquaintance of ours, happy birth recognition date to you. Happy birth recognition date to you. Happy birth recognition date, Ken Weber. Happy birth recognition date to you.
Ken Webb?
Yeah. And I also got to shout out my dad.
Come on, man.
I got to shout out my dad because yesterday was his birthday. So
everyone's having birthdays. It'll be my birthday next month, and you, Nacy.
Yeah, 11 days from today will be my birth recognition date.
All right, you're a June. I thought you were July. I thought you were July, dude. Yeah, I'm a July dude.
Yeah, we're both cancer.
I am a very, very deadly disease indeed, or I'm a seaside crawler, or yes, some call it an STD, but the crab, ladies and gentlemen, Cancer. It's a very mysterious star sign, but more about that on our Zodiac specials that we often don't do. We'll be back on the other side with one segment to go to warm you up for the portal. The Stargate is engaged. We'll be right back. There we go, Ken Webb. Man, that was a blast from the past, dude. We need some Ken Webb. We miss Ken Webb. Scott, we need to get him out of cryogenic freezing and like reanimate him. I know we haven't figured out how to do it yet, but I think we need to give it a go.
I'm gonna try to coax him out. I'm friends with his old lady on Facebook, so I'll message her.
She might be the way to go.
Yeah, and I'll be like, hey.
Oh, Sidvich.
A message.
Sidvich, don't. I know, dude. I was thinking about this the other day. Can't believe it. We're turning 45 in July. Where did it go? I know, all us 76ers out there, where did the time go? I'm telling you, man. I was thinking back to just the 80s the other day. And what a simpler time. What a simpler time altogether. TV used to finish at a decent time of night. There was only a handful of channels. People used to have conversations. The skies were blue. The sun was yellow. I'm telling you, man.
I'm a little bit younger than you, but not like that much younger. You know, I mean, what, you're 76, and then I was 83, so not even.
Dude.
Yeah, not even a senior difference. And so
I'd already lost some of that childhood innocence by then, man. I was starting to figure out there's something far wrong with this playground that I find myself in.
And am I the old man with 67?
You 67 already, dude?
No, I was born in 1967.
I know, man. I know, but that was quite quick for me. I thought that was quite a good one. Ching, boom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I get it. I'll be right back, gentlemen. I got to pour some water on the quantum generator. It seems like it's kind of overheating.
Nice.
Scotty, are you missing some warning bells there?
We like it when you keep your quantum generator cooled. Always important.
Now, obviously, I don't remember like much of the early 80s or mid 80s that much, but I do remember the late 80s and into the into the 90s.
That's when music was just getting good, man. That's when it was just getting good. Well, no, it was good a long time before then, but it was when I was starting to you know.
Yeah. A much simpler.
A lot of jiggering and jiggering back in the early 90s from yours truly. Oh, the 90s. Oh, man. To be back in the 90s.
Good times.
Oh, good times were had, man. Damn, dude.
Good times.
Holy shamoly. It was back in the 90s when I was told, you know, Kev, you could go all the way in the army, have a cracking career, or one day, you're going to end up talking to all these people, thousands of them. And I laughed, Scott. How the hell's that going to happen?
I never thought when I was in like middle school or high school that I would be talking to massive amounts of people, you know, on a weekly basis.
Isn't it?
That actually would have terrified me horrendously back then.
Here we go, boys. Here we go. But Talking of being terrified, we've got one segment to go. It's not quite time yet, but I had a kind of blast of nostalgia earlier on as well. We've got the European Football Championships that are taking place over here. Kicked off today in Italy, and the Italians. I'll tell us when we come back because we're just about to go back on air. I tell you what, it was like a mental telepathic time travel. We'll talk about it. Hang on,
Yes.
I'll bring it in. Here we go.
Like a sense of nostalgia that took you back to another time.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
First there was the crickets, and then there was the Wookiee, and then there was your Woo Crew for our final segment today. Yes, indeed, this has been a really, really fast show. Great conversation. But remember, don't feel deflated when this finishes. No, no, no. Keep that vibe and head on over to the Paranormal Portal, which will be right here on your number one network, tfrlive.com, or you can catch Brent over on his YouTube channel by the same name, Paranormal Portal. And then we have got more shows that come up right after that with Kevin's friend Paisley. The spaces in between. Yes, indeed, Scott's laughing because he knows I got the surname wrong last time, so this time I leave it out.
Oh, I'm laughing because the cursor is over my head, and I thought it was my mouse cursor.
Look,
I went
look, I can I can almost pick your nose there. Oh, look, there's a cursor coming out your mouth. But no, during the break, I was talking to the guys about how it was like a little bit of mental time travel. Call it nostalgic time travel, if you will. Watch a channel on YouTube, CW Chanter. I disagree with more stuff than I agree with him on, but he talks about time loops and nostalgia loops and things like that. And I was watching the start of the footy, the European Championships. They kicked off today. It was Italy against Turkey. It was over in Italy, and there was the his name escapes me, one of the finest opera singers in the world. But he was singing Nessun Dorma before it all started. And I'm watching it and I'm thinking, wow. And it was like being back in 1990. And I could almost remember all the same things I was doing. Everything came flooding back because 1990 was Italia 90. You know, if you were over here in Europe, we love our football and things. So back then, Italia 90, I was like, 14 years old? Yeah, 14, 15 years old. So it was like one of the first real tournaments I really got into big time. And listening to that today, dude, it was like, obviously not physically time traveling or anything, but it's the same as when you sometimes hear a song.
Best times are yet to come, brothers.
Yes, thank you very much, John. Thank you very much. The best times are yet to come. They are. But it was very, very kind of weird. I must admit, Scott, it was weird. It was like being thrown back there. You can do it with an old song, can do the same thing, right? But it was weird.
All the time. I'm one of those people that I heavily get the feeling of nostalgia like quite easily when it comes to things like that, like songs or smells or just, anything that can invoke kind of the memory of days past or whatever. That happens to me a lot. A lot, and so yeah, I mean, it's amazing how our brains can hold on to just very kind of core information, but keep it registered, and then years and years and years down the road, if you're exposed to something that matches up with that memory that's stored in your brain, boom, it triggers it. I'm sure a lot of people can kind of relate to if you smell a perfume that like your grandma used to wear, you immediately get that feeling of like your grandmother or somebody being around, from when you were a kid or something, and it could be a multitude of things, like you said, a song playing or something kind of repeating, an event kind of repeating that happened a long time, like you said, with this tournament going on, right? It's the same teams, it kind of had the same vibe, and it kind of threw you back to that time. We get a lot of that, here in sports as well. If there's two football teams.
Now, I heard somebody talking again. Did anyone hear that?
I did not.
It was while you were talking this time, and it wasn't your voice.
Oh, okay. Well, there's people talking in the background.
Okay, maybe
that
because your gate's open. Maybe because you're talking, your gate's open. It might be. Okay, cool.
Did it sound like a female voice?
It did. In all honesty,
okay.
Yeah.
That's my mom and my grandmother.
Folks, we like our woo, but we also like to test it with logic. So
yes. Now, nothing can explain my voice.
No.
Explain that. That was weird, and I'm gonna have to. That's gonna be racking my brain throughout the night tonight. I'm gonna go back and listen.
I was thinking that my voice modulator got shut off, and you guys are hearing my real voice instead of my regular voice, and then something might be going wrong with it.
I was worried about that as well, to be honest with you.
I want the voice effects.
So what we're saying is, guys, what we're saying is, right, we need to build ourselves a TARDIS. We need to fill it with music of the era that we want to go back to. And then just try and trick ourselves into going back there. But it's got to be a bit that we've lived through, obviously, right? For us to remember the tunes. You see?
So here's the question. What would you do if you did manage to go back? Like, what would be your first order of business?
To find me. To find me and say, oh. I'd be like, whoa. Yeah, we need to have a word, all right? We need to have a word, punk. A few things you're about to do on this journey of yours that I'm going to tell you right now you're not going to do. All right? But you see, I know that never happened because I never lived through that. Because when you were younger, your older self, if by now you can't remember that you've come to meet yourself from the future, there's a good chance, well, maybe it'll happen tomorrow. Maybe 80-year-old Kev will come and visit me and go, I had to wait until you done that show until I tell you this. And I'll be sat there going, this is some kind of paradoxical anomaly. I shouldn't be talking to myself. Nobody's going to believe me.
You might not have come back in time and spoken to yourself in this dimension, but maybe that's the change in another dimension.
Oh, dang, dude. See, now it gets confusing. And then how do you know you get back to your own dimension?
Looks like there's a lot more to this whole time travel thing than what movies make it out to be, right?
This is what worries me as well, that there's flaws that we haven't even imagineered yet. We haven't even created them fictionally, these problems, let alone what it's like doing it.
What if all the people, like in the future, let's say they come up with time travel, and all the future people are like, yeah, we got it. I'm gonna get in the time machine and go. What if they think they're going back in time, or they think that they're, but what they're doing is they're like creating an entirely different universe that they're stuck in, like an entirely different timeline,
and everything's geared to really mess you up because you were the one that created it.
Exactly. Like it's like just this hell that just makes you go insane because you have no idea what's yeah, I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't be like branching timelines and splitting off and creating
some things us hairless apes need to leave well alone. And sometimes I think the time-space continuum, they say, might be one of them, right?
That epic ending, they destroyed it. They destroyed everything. damn you all to hell.
Yeah. Could be, dude. Could be.
Planet of the Apes. The
Can
manipulation.
Be a bit Planet of the Apes, man. That's a good movie. But even the new ones are good.
You know what I would like to see them redo or make just kind of, I don't know. I want to see them take another crack at Dune. I love Dune.
Oh, yes.
Dune was so awesome.
I think they were making that. I'm pretty sure they were remaking that, dude.
There was the epic one that was done, and then they did a reboot like miniseries. I think it had like 3 shows to it. That was really good, But I strongly suggest people read Dune because it is similar to what we're kind of going through in the microcosm and the macrocosm.
I knew I'd seen it somewhere. There it is. Dune 2021 is an upcoming epic science fiction film directed by Denis Villeneuve with a screenplay by Jean Spates and Eric Roth. Now, I've heard of him before. The film is an international co-production of Canada, Hungary, and the United Kingdom and the US. And it is the first of a planned 2-part adaptation of the 1965 novel by the same name. Dune is scheduled to be premiered at the 78th Venice International Film Festival on October the 1st. HBO Max will have it when it comes out.
The only problem is that Dune is such a large novel that you can't fit it into a movie. I mean, you can kind of condense it and whatnot. But I always thought that if you had a really, really good animation team, like a Japanese animation team, to span the novel out over a series, I think that could be potentially very epic, if they did it right. But not interesting. it'll be interesting to see how this movie is, though, because I like the story of Dune. I've always loved that whole concept and just the spice being able to like open their minds up to these insane abilities. It's almost like what we talk about when we discuss what happens when you open your brain up 100%, right? If they say we're only using like 11% of our brain or something like that. But if you were to tap into the full potential of it, what could you do? And I think Dune is kind of like that. It's like the spice has the ability to open people's minds up to where they have this like clairvoyance and have all these crazy abilities and things like that. It's wild. It's wild. I like it.
Great book. Yeah, I remember reading that years and years ago, man. That's a good one. I watched The Conjuring, the latest one that came out, and I was telling my mum about that. I'm hard to please when it comes to horror movies these days. But then at the same time, I'm a big fan. The devil made me do it? Yeah, I'm a big fan of B movies, so I'm a bit kind of a riddle mixed up in an enigma that way. My whole viewing thing, it doesn't make sense at times. But the devil made me do it. Oh boy, there was a couple of good jumpy bits in there. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And when you get to 44, 45, to get a couple of good jumpy bits in a horror movie, that's good going. I'm telling you, that's pretty good going. So I was quite impressed with that, I must admit.
The problem with the horror genre these days, the problem I think is that they depend too much on jump scare. Because it's easy to jump scare somebody. You know what I mean?
This has got a good story to this. So it's good. It's good.
Yeah. I mean, but I'm just saying in whole, in general, with the
usually
the
they go for more the grotesque kind of. We'll try and gross people out with the whole slasher aspect, which does nothing for me,
Well, it's enjoyable when they get us on the edge of our seat, where we're predicting either the jump scare or the gore to occur. And this was one of the brilliance of Alfred Hitchcock. He would, even though it's dated now, you know, and I don't
No,
think the
it's still
kids.
classic, dude. It's still classic. There's like something about a Hitchcock movie.
Well, nah, I don't think it's dated because they utilize the jump scare tastefully in the right way, not just using it as a crutch for the whole movie. You know what I mean? Because there's a place for the jump scare, and like you said, and they say, you know, building up the anticipation, getting everybody on the edge of their seat, and then boom, you hit them with it, and yeah, it's extremely effective. But when you overdo it, and there's like a jump scare every 5-10 minutes or so, it just becomes repetitive, and you're expecting it. And movies also need to get back to the whole, if you're going to scare somebody, like scare them, like do some kind of a psychological, disturb the person. That's what I consider, a scary movie, is when you feel disturbed and you feel uncomfortable and you're like, oh man, this is not.
Blair Witch disturbed me when I first seen it. That whole genre when it first came on, but now it's played out. But when I first seen that was like, wow, I enjoyed that.
They did something new and novel, kind of. If you think about it, though, wasn't Cannibal Holocaust sort of the first kind of incarnation of that?
What a name for a movie. Extra Carnivorous Holocaust. I don't know which one of that's just like, wow.
Yeah.
I don't even think I've seen that.
Oh my God, dude. That
thing's disturbing.
Is that a mid-90s?
That's the inspiration. That's the inspiration for stuff like the Blair Witch, because in extracurricular carnivorous Holocaust, the premise was that you thought you were watching a documentary, that you were with a documentary team.
Yeah, I like all that stuff, man. I like it.
And stuff started going down, and back in the day, people thought it was actually a real documentary, like that they found the footage from a documentary team.
No, I don't know. I need to give Tessa. Tessa needs a shout out, right? Because she's mentioned my relative. She has. She might not know this, but she says Raymond Burr going after Jimmy Stewart Rear Window. Raymond Burr is was my cousin. There you go. Yes, the late great Ironside, Perry Mason. And if you go to Fort Augustus, boring fact, but if you go to one of the cemeteries there, you'll see that it's full of the Burr family. And they're from up my neck of the woods. So there you go. There's my semi-quasi claim to fame, guys. The Ironside. I mean, Ironside's a pretty cool character. Perry Mason's a pretty cool character, Big Raymond Burr, man. Yeah, there you go. People are looking at me thinking, can I see Raymond Burr in them? Probably not. But
you know what other movie I think was groundbreaking at the time and like shockingly scary? It probably came out around the same time as extracurricular carnivorous Holocaust.
Yeah. Even that one. Who knows? Wow.
Was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Oh, dude, the most disturbing ever, man.
Love it.
The head, the thing hitting the head with the sledgehammer, and you know what else disturbed me as a youngster?
Hit him, Grandpa.
Hit him. That's it. Oh God, Nacy. But the Hills Have Eyes. Do you remember the original Hills Have Eyes?
Yes.
Eat the. Yes, see, Scotty, I remember to black out. You don't want to go talking about extra carnivorous activities like that on our first Friday back. No. We've done well today, boys. We've done well. What other horror movies? Come on, let's throw some more horror in there.
I want to go back real quick about Scotty when he proclaimed about a remake. My ultimate, and of course I can't see it, but I would love for the rest of the universe to experience if they would remake Pink Floyd The Wall, leave it exactly how it is, but all of the animation, to do that with green screen and computer animation. So it's realism.
Ian,
that'd be
very
cool.
Interesting. Speaking of like remastering old stuff. I recently got my hands on the artificial intelligence software that can take like old video at like low resolution and like blow it up to like 1080p or 4K, and then actually use the AI algorithm to clean it up and make it high resolution. I was like, oh, that's neat, because got like a bunch of old music videos and just things that I've had for a long time. It'd be cool to upscale some of this stuff. Got some VHS footage, family VHS footage would be kind of cool to do that too.
Old horror movies, man. Scarier the better. We want scary ones. Big time.
Hey, maybe we could upscale all of Popeye's archive. His video archive.
Maybe we could just upscale Popeye. Since he's even smaller than me, I have it on good authority that I would look tall beside Popeye.
My all-time scariest movie that really affected me was called Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. And I brought this up before, where there were like little they were like little hairy creatures with like wrinkled cone heads. And they came up out of the basement, weird little metal door. And they came out and they were terrorizing a woman, and eventually, spoiler, grabbed her and pulled her to the door.
Some freaky deaky stuff, man. Anything with little people, or where you've got like, I've said it before, and it gives me the creepies every time I think of it, but The Shining and those absolutely monstrous, grotesque little girls in that. There's something really scary about when you throw children into horror movies. It's just unsettling. Maybe it's just me, I don't know. But they take the creep factor to from there to about there. It's like off the chart.
It's the juxtaposition of the two. You have
right.
A child which is innocent and all of this stuff.
They
and
don't look innocent. You're geez.
Children of the Corn.
There you go. There you go.
Children of the Corn. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. That's a good one. Good shout.
But that which lives within the fields.
You throw the children in a situation where things are like,
Moron donated $5 through Super Chat. Great lurk. Much love, gents and chat. Now PPP and thumb up.
Ron, thank you very much, brother. And since we're almost at the end of the show, I'm going to replay the one we got during the last break as well. Last segment. This one here. Hopefully it'll play again. This is where I press it about. There we go.
Best times are yet to come, brothers.
Thank you very, very much, John. And we also had Sidvich as well. Big thank you to Sidvich, who got a sticker earlier on. Big thank you to everyone.
Sidvich donated 30 Norwegian kroner through Super Chat.
Thank you. Big shout out to everyone. All of the PayPal people as well. I think I've got Geraldine, Connie, and Marty, I believe. If I've missed anyone out, I apologise. It's because I'm going by memory here. I'm trying not to get distracted by my mobile device during the show, you see. Yes, but you know what I'm in the mood for now? A damn good horror movie. 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to be looking for a horror movie. What's that all about? I blame you guys.
It happens. It happens.
Well, in fact, no, actually.
The one, have you seen the one called Hereditary?
No.
Oh.
That is the one that has disturbed me lately. You know, of course, I don't get the visual, so I just get the audio of it. But the audio of it was disturbing enough with the audio description that I was taken aback by it. So I would recommend that one, Kev, if you're looking for something new.
Oh, always looking for something new, dude. That's my escapism from the online digital battlefield of mimetic warfare psychological shenanigans and just downright tomfoolery that happens online most of the time.
Well, people have asked me, why are you so intrigued and so into horror movies? You know, how can you handle that? And I said, because that I know is fake, and it's made, you know, through the whole cinema and stuff like that. And so it's easier to witness that horrificness than looking at what's going on in the world and finding that horrificness.
Don't let people shame you for enjoying something, dude. If you enjoy your movies like I do, don't let people tell you what to do. If they don't like movies on their journey, move along. It's all good.
Exactly. I will continue to play those mind-rotting video games until I am 6 feet in the dirt.
Yes, indeed. I will continue to play them as well, but not on a level like you and my own old man boomer. I'm almost like a boomer when it comes to playing computer games. Crap.
Boy, you got to see how much me and my brother, especially my brother, has progressed.
Well, we're about to progress into paranormal portal territory in a moment here. So there we go. See, look at that. Perfect timing. Don't go anywhere. Or if you're on YouTube, go to Paranormal Portal. We'll be back same time, same place next week, wherever you are. Make it TFR.
Denny touch that dial.
Toodles.
There we go. Yes. Thank you. So now Geraldine says The Right with Anthony Hopkins playing an exorcist. Anthony Hopkins is a fantastic actor. Fantastic. And I think I've seen that one, The Right. I think I've seen that.
I mean, we talking about Anthony Hopkins, then we gotta, get into Silence of the Lambs and all of that good stuff.
The psychological thrillers.
Yes, indeed. That's a good one, though. The Silence of the Lambs is a good one.
Oh, it's one of my favorites. It's a classic. And a lot of the I think another movie that doesn't get a lot of attention, doesn't get a lot of love, but it's part of that whole
Manhunter.
Yeah,
man.
You know,
fantastic and undersung. Yes.
Yeah. People focus on Silence of the Lambs, but they forget about Manhunter. Mm-hmm. You know. Yeah.
I'm there,
also
dude.
good books. The Silence of the Lamb and the other books that came out there.
What book are you listening to just now, Nacy?
The latest book I'm listening to is The History of Fort Snelling.
Well, you said that. I'm listening to one called The Eden Paradox by Barry Kerwan. And it's sci-fi, and it's about us going and terraforming and getting ready to move to a new planet because this planet here is kerfuffled. It's good. It's good.
How long are you going to be on, Kev? Because there's something I want to show you.
Nah, not really that long. How?
Well,
I'll send it to you later. Because
I have been Oh, sorry, Sky.
Oh, I was just going to. Okay, you know the game Metal Gear Solid?
Yeah, Snake.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Was it not Snake Plissken? Was that? No, that's thingy. That's thingy. Yeah, but it's Snake, isn't it? But it is Snake and Metal Gear Solid. See.
Now, I'm a big Metal Gear Solid fan. I've played through the games. I haven't played through the most recent ones or whatever. But I completely forgot until I saw this YouTube video, and I was like, "Oh my God!" The end of Metal Gear Solid 2 has this conversation that's going on, and they pretty much predict everything that's going on today as far as mimetic warfare, all of the information that people can't. And you got to remember, this game was made in 2001, so this predates social media. This predates smartphones.
I need to get going, guys.
I'll send you the thing. And then
I've got an appointment. I've got an appointment with my son. We've got wrestling to watch and Pearly to call.
Oh, that's right.
I tell you, it's all happening here at the KBS HQ. But I want to thank everyone for Freaky Friday. I hope you're glad we brought it back. It wasn't quite as terrifying as the experience as I thought it was. So I want to thank Nacy and Scotty for that, for being very algorithm friendly. It is what it is, folks, but we know what we're doing now, so we'll be back here same time, same place next week. And tomorrow, look out for a little extracurricular streaming from yours truly here. And I promise there'll be no men in dog suits. So on that note, we are, you know it, Nacy, you know it, we are out of here.
Freaky Friday with the Woo Crew. Will you come and play with us, Kev? Forever and ever.
Wow, wow, wow. Wow.
Dave on the Wawa.
Wow, 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 wow. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, wow, wow. Wow, wow, wow.